The implication was obvious. Liam had to laugh. I think he looks fine. Dressed sharp, pretty handsome, what's not to like? Humph, Cassandra snorted disdainfully, her eyes still closed. Her voice was cool. Not even half as good as you. Liam never expected the conversation to circle back to him. It sounded like a compliment, but the way she said it made him feel like a prize stallion being appraised by a madam. So, if I'd been some ugly troll from the start, you wouldn't have been so obsessed with me, huh? Liam started running his mouth again, though his hands never stopped their work. What kind of question is that? Cassandra frowned. If I were an ugly troll, you wouldn't have helped me in the beginning, would you? At that, Liam's hands paused. He went silent. He desperately wanted to say, my lady, didn't you hold a gun to my head? In this day and age, forget a gun. Even a knife was a powerful motivator for peaceful cooperation. Cassandra had just been bantering, but when she asked that question, she felt the massage stop cold. Her eyes flew open. She pushed herself up and turned around. You really wouldn't have helped me? Hey, calm down. That's not what I meant. Liam said quickly. It's a pointless hypothetical. Besides, being beautiful is your natural advantage, isn't it? Cassandra studied him with suspicion. Finally, she lay back down with a sigh, propping her head on her hand. Well, if I ever do turn into an ugly troll, I'll still stick to you, she muttered to herself. And if you dare look at me with disgust, I'll glue myself to you for the rest of my life and never let go. Listening to her indignant mumbling, Liam quickly agreed. Okay, fine. And if I turn into an ugly troll, I'll stick to you too. We'll just be locked together forever. He was clearly joking, but Cassandra heard it and looked completely satisfied. That's more like it. She reached a hand back, and when her fingers brushed against his knee, she shifted her body until the back of her head was resting directly on his thigh. She closed her eyes again, a look of pure, blissful contentment on her face. The sweet scene made Leo and Chloe blush. A wave of heat washed over them, and as they averted their eyes, they accidentally made eye contact with each other, then quickly looked away again. My brother and sister-in-law are so close. Chloe marveled, brushing sauce onto a skewer. It feels like just yesterday they were at each other's throats. It all changed so fast. Yeah, it hasn't been long at all, Leo said, looking at Liam with a hint of envy. Ms. Thorne is so devoted. Honestly, if I met a girl like that, I wouldn't have the heart to push her away either. It was an innocent comment, but a complex emotion flickered in Chloe's eyes. She gave Leo a long look, but didn't say anything more. A short distance away, Riley Thorne pointed to the small stream nearby. Mr. Ethan, she suggested, why don't we go over by the water? It's a little crowded here, hard to talk. Ethan naturally wouldn't refuse. He nodded and followed her to the stream's edge. It was only a dozen yards or so from the tents, easily within sight. Riley was nervously wringing her hands, trying to think of a conversation starter, when a woman's voice called out from a little way down the stream. Ethan, darling, what a coincidence. What are you doing here? Riley froze. She looked toward the sound and saw a lavishly dressed woman walking toward them with a wide smile. The moment the woman saw Riley, however, her expression instantly soured. Mr. Ethan, is this? Riley asked, being polite. Ethan frowned slightly. Penelope, don't call me that when we're out. Hearing the name, Riley blinked. For a second, she felt like she'd heard it before, but she couldn't quite place where. Penelope Hamilton's face fell, and she put on a pitiful, aggrieved expression. Ethan, darling, don't be so cruel. I never got to properly thank you for helping me last time. I can't believe I ran into you here today. I have to thank you properly. The implication was heavy. Ethan frowned. It was nothing, just a small favor. As Penelope walked closer, smiling, Ethan proactively explained to Riley, this is a scholarship student I sponsor, Penelope. She's a junior at Gatton University. A junior? Riley was stunned, her incredulous gaze landing on Penelope. If Ethan hadn't said it, she never would have guessed this girl was a college student. Riley was clearly unhappy, but didn't say anything more. Seeing this, Penelope stepped forward even more boldly, her eyes full of gratitude. Ethan, the semester just started, and we've all been talking. We're planning a thank you event, and we'd love for you to come. Seeing that Ethan was about to refuse, Penelope hurried on. All of us scholarship students chipped in. We saved up from our part-time jobs. Everyone really wants you to be there. The meaning was clear. By invoking the entire group, she made it impossible for Ethan to refuse. He could only nod stiffly. All right, send me the time and place, and I'll be there. Okay. Penelope nodded, her eyes flicking to Riley. She then deliberately linked her arm through Ethan's. Ethan, thank you so much. If you hadn't happened to sponsor us, I don't know what I would have done. Her sudden intimate gesture made Riley's blood boil. What was supposed to be a fun outing to meet her online friend had been ruined by this clueless woman. She gritted her teeth, turned on her heel, and snapped, "Well, mister Ethan, I'll let you two talk. I'm going to go check if Chloe and the others are done with the food." Without giving Ethan a chance to react, she stormed off. Ethan wanted to go after her, but Penelope held his arm tightly, blinking playfully. "Is she your girlfriend, Ethan?" The word girlfriend made Ethan nervous. He scratched his head. Not yet. We're just good friends." "Oh," Penelope cooed, drawing out the sound as she watched Riley's retreating back with a smug look. Seeing Riley storm back, fuming, Liam, who was still massaging Cassandra's temples, asked in confusion, "Riley, what's wrong? What did that guy say to get you so angry?" Cassandra lifted an eyelid, wearing a classic spill the tea expression. Riley pouted and pointed back toward the stream. Some woman just appeared out of nowhere, completely clueless. Puzzled, Liam followed her finger. When he saw who it was, he froze. Standing by the stream was none other than the second Hamilton child, Penelope. What a small world. To think he'd run into her here, of all places. Liam suddenly recalled the fate of the other Hamiltons. Back in Vegas, he'd heard that David and Sandra had been caught up with loan sharks. David had a stroke and would never recover. The third sister, Noelle, had developed severe anxiety and couldn't even leave her house anymore. As for Isabel and Jason, they were probably still enjoying the hospitality of a Las Vegas police department. If he hadn't seen her today, Liam might have completely forgotten Penelope even existed. But made sense. She had been studying abroad in the UK, so it wasn't that strange to run into her here. Seeing Liam lost in thought, Cassandra frowned, her body shifting as she gracefully rose and wrapped her arms around his neck. "What is it? You seem to know her." The probing, acidic tone was unmistakable. Knowing Cassandra was a queen of jealousy, Liam's lips curved into a smirk. It was too much fun to see her get worked up. He couldn't resist teasing her. "Know her? We were practically inseparable. I used to wire her money all the time," he said with a laugh, starting to count on his fingers. "At least $15,000 a month, sometimes more." Cassandra's face instantly darkened. Her grip tightened, and a fire ignited in her eyes, as if she were about to strangle him. Liam hadn't even finished his sentence before he felt his throat constrict. All that jealousy was being taken out on him. He immediately sensed danger and was about to explain when he heard Riley say nonchalantly, 15,000? That's not much. No wonder she's claiming to be a poor student." "Huh?" Liam was stunned. He looked at Riley in shock. "Lady, are we speaking the same language? 15 grand a month is a poor student. Besides, I think you're missing the point here." Cassandra shot a cold glare at Riley, and the pressure on Liam's neck eased slightly. She glared at him, her voice a low threat. "Just 15,000, is that it? Nothing more?" Liam's mouth twitched. What are you planning? Starting this month? I want you to wire me money too. A month? 10 times that. No, 100 times. You'll give me $1.5 million a month," Cassandra declared, finishing her calculations with a decisive finality. Liam was speechless. How had this conversation about someone else ended up costing him? Seeing how serious she was, he sighed and dropped the act. "Cassandra. Her name is Penelope Hamilton. She's one of them. I don't care if her name is Penelope or Pamela. You have to give me 100 times what you gave her." "Wait a second," Cassandra replied dismissively, but before she could finish, the name registered. She looked at Liam in surprise. "Hamilton? You mean she's from the family that abandoned you?" At the word abandoned, an obvious flicker of embarrassment crossed Riley's face. She quickly tugged on Cassandra's sleeve and whispered, "Sis, how could you say that? That's a sore subject for Liam." Cassandra belatedly realized her mistake and quickly turned to Liam. "Sorry, I was just so surprised." "It's fine," Liam said, waving it off with a smile. "That's all in the past. To be honest, I'm more interested in seeing what Penelope is up to." A flicker of concern appeared in Cassandra's eyes. She took his hand, pulling him closer. "You don't have to pretend to be strong. From now on, I'm your family. The Thorns will always have your back." It was rare to hear such word from Cassandra, but he could feel her sincerity, especially now, surrounded by the warmth of the campfire. Meeting the concerned gazes of Riley and Cassandra, Liam smiled. "Really, it's fine. Hey, don't you guys want to watch the show?" Riley arched an eyebrow, glancing dismissively at Penelope in the distance. "With that tacky makeup, it makes me sick just looking at her." But Cassandra didn't spoil Liam's fun. She leaned in closer, tilting her head. "What kind of show did you have in mind?" "Just to see what kind of trouble Penelope gets into. Life gets boring. You need interesting people to liven things up, don't you?" Liam asked with a grin. Cassandra raised an eyebrow, but said nothing, which was as good as agreement. Since her own sister was on board, Riley couldn't object. She glanced between Ethan and Penelope. Well, watching a little drama might be fun. As soon as that woman showed up, any good feelings I had for Ethan completely vanished anyway. Liam smiled and beckoned to Riley. Riley, come here. Your big brother has a fun idea for you. What? Riley approached suspiciously, crouching down to listen. Right in front of Cassandra, Liam whispered, Okay, here's what you do. In a little bit, go over and invite your crush to join us. Penelope will definitely follow. And when she does, he whispered the rest of the plan, a mischievous look on his face. A few seconds later, Riley's eyes went wide. Liam, that's so vicious. Cassandra's lips curved into a smile as she looked at Liam, offering a single word of praise. Brilliant. Liam laughed. How is that vicious? Think about it. She's trying to steal your crush in broad daylight. Still think it's vicious. He's not my crush. Riley stomped her foot, her face flushing red. With a humph, she ran off. As Riley walked away, Cassandra narrowed her eyes. Aren't you afraid she'll recognize you? And what if she does? A person like Penelope would never admit to knowing me now. And even if she did, have you forgotten? I have amnesia, Liam said confidently, laughing without a care in the world. However, the word amnesia snapped Cassandra back to reality. She frowned, a sense of unease growing. The next second, she shot forward and grabbed Liam by the collar. Wait a second. You're not supposed to have your memory. How do you remember the Hamiltons? Instantly, Liam's heart stopped. He looked at Cassandra nervously, knowing now was not the time for the truth. He improvised. Chloe told me. Remember? I met up with her and Leo a few days ago. Oh, Cassandra remembered. She thought about the bug she'd planted on him back then, which he never even brought up. Why was she questioning him about this? Did it matter if he had his memory back or not? Her only fear was that he would remember the ways she had tormented him and start to hate her again. But in the end, as long as he was Liam, that was enough. All right, I should go give Chloe and Leo a heads up so we don't slip up later, Liam said, slapping his forehead. He stood up abruptly and walked over to where they were sitting. That young lady is coming back, Penelope noted with a smile, instinctively tightening her grip on Ethan's arm as Riley approached. Ethan turned his head and saw Riley. He instinctively pulled his arm away from Penelope. Miss Riley, are you finished with your business? Riley saw the small gesture, and in that moment, she suddenly felt that Ethan wasn't quite as handsome as she'd first thought. Though she was in a bad mood, Riley followed Liam's plan. My sister said to invite you over. The food is ready. She wants us all to eat together. Before Ethan could even respond, Penelope jumped in. Little sis, is there enough for me? A wave of disgust washed over Riley, but before Ethan could speak, she nodded, putting on a show of generosity. Of course, we brought plenty of food. Come on, join us. Thank you, Penelope said, her eyes full of gratitude. She turned to Ethan. Ethan, your friend is so nice. Ethan frowned, sensing the atmosphere was a bit strange, but he followed Riley anyway. Penelope was smiling, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She stared at Riley's back, her hand clutching Ethan's arm even tighter. The three of them walked toward the tents. However, the moment they arrived and Penelope saw the two people sitting in the main seats at the head of the setup, she froze. Liam, she blurted out in shock. Liam looked up, feigning a look of confusion as he gazed at her. Riley blinked innocently. Oh, you know my brother-in-law? Penelope's mouth twitched, as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over her head. Memories of the past flooded her mind, and her heart seized with panic. But seeing Liam's puzzled expression, she forced her anxiety down. No, not really. He just looks a lot like an old friend of mine. Just as Liam predicted, she didn't dare to admit it. Cassandra didn't even bother to lift her eyelids, but her ears were keenly focused on their conversation, a look of amusement on her face. Chloe blinked, looking directly at Riley. Riley, didn't you say you only had one friend coming? How come there's an extra one? Yeah, we thought you were just bringing one guest, not two. We might not have prepared enough food, Leo chimed in, playing along. Penelope's face was about to collapse. She looked at the 10-foot-long table in front of her, laden with a feast of food. And you're telling me it's not enough? Are you kidding me? But with Ethan right there, and the man who looked so much like Liam sitting across from her, Penelope swallowed her anger. She forced a laugh. That's okay. I don't eat much anyway. I'm not that hungry. I'm just happy to keep Ethan company. That won't do. Chloe suddenly stood up and grabbed Penelope's arm. Come on, the grill is still going over there. I'll keep you company while you cook something. It was an offer Penelope couldn't refuse. She had no choice but to follow Chloe to the grill. She sat down by the grill, facing the scorching charcoal. The large fan next to them wasn't on. Before she even started cooking, She was already breaking a sweat. Can we turn that fan on? It's a little hot. This. Chloe picked up the fan's power cord and stated bluntly, it's broken. You didn't even plug it in, and you're telling me it's broken? Penelope's eyes widened as she watched Chloe pull a small, personal fan from her pocket and aim it at herself. Smoke billowed from the grill, wafting directly into Penelope's face. In just a few minutes, her makeup started to melt, streaking her face like a raccoon's. Penelope couldn't sit still any longer. She glanced at Liam and asked through gritted teeth, "Little sis, what's the name of that man sitting over there?" Chloe gave her a knowing look. "You mean my brother? His name's Liam." Penelope shot to her feet. "Liam? His name is really Liam?" "Yeah," Chloe said, feigning confusion. "What's wrong? Miss Hamilton, why are you so surprised?" "No, nothing." Penelope shook her head frantically, suddenly realizing this was probably a prank orchestrated by Liam. But that didn't make sense. She looked around at the group again and realized Liam was the only one she recognized. She'd never seen any of the others before, including the stunningly beautiful woman sitting so intimately with him. Could it be that they had all been fooled by Liam's act, thinking she was the bad guy, and that's why they were treating her this way? A shadow crossed her eyes. These people probably had no idea who Liam really was. "I used to have a brother. His name was Liam, too," Penelope said, biting her lip as she finally decided to speak. "He tampered with my brother's car and almost caused him to get into a terrible accident. I was studying abroad at the time, and he even cut off my living expenses and used deceitful tricks to steal all of our family's assets. That's why the name left such a deep impression on me." She spoke with a fragile expression, clearly trying to win Chloe's sympathy. However, she had picked the wrong audience. Chloe said bluntly, "Wait a second, Miss Hamilton. Your brother is named Liam, and he framed." "Your brother? Liam was adopted. Our family raised him for many years," Penelope said, not at all flustered, her eyes full of disdain for what Liam had supposedly done. "Oh, so you mean he framed your biological brother?" "Yes." Penelope nodded gravely, waiting for Chloe's shocked and angry reaction. Instead, all she got was a flat reply. "Well, that's pretty messed up," Chloe said casually, then pointed to the grill. "Miss Hamilton, your food is burning." "Ah," Penelope yelped, whipping her head around. The meat on the grill was charred black. She immediately forced a bitter smile and played the victim. "It seems I can't do anything right. Just like back then, I tried to stop Liam, but in the end, I failed." Chloe's eyes flickered, ready to continue the act, when she heard Ethan's voice from nearby. "Penelope, let me help you. Everyone's waiting for you, so we can start eating." Penelope nodded, her eyes filled with emotion. "Okay, everyone's waiting to eat, all right. Waiting to eat up this drama." Chloe returned to her seat with a knowing look and took the opportunity to relay what Penelope had just said to the group. The more they heard, the uglier Cassandra's expression became. Beside her, Riley was no longer calling the plan vicious. She just felt like she'd lost her appetite. Liam, however, calmly ate his kebab. Leo slammed his hand on the table and shot up. "What the hell? How can that woman twist the truth like that? My man Liam has always been an upstanding guy. How did she make it sound like it was all his fault?" "Shuh, keep your voice down." Leo's outburst startled Chloe. She quickly glanced over her shoulder, and after confirming no one had noticed, she let out a sigh of relief. Everyone present knew Liam's history all too well. Now that Penelope was twisting the facts, how could they not see through her lies? Liam put down his skewer with a smile and looked at Riley, whose face was a mask of disgust. "Still think the plan is vicious?" Riley's face was pale as she shook her head. Her eyes darted toward Ethan. "Looks like Ethan isn't much of a prize either." "I'm not so sure about that. It's possible Penelope just has him fooled," Liam said calmly. Chloe frowned. "I agree. That Ethan guy doesn't seem to be in the same league as Penelope, at least not in terms of class. It's very possible he's been deceived." Hearing Chloe defend him, Leo's expression soured. "Chloe, just because he's dressed well doesn't mean anything. It could be an act. If a girl asked me out to dinner back in the day, I make an effort to dress up too. And he's meeting his online friend for the first time. Not necessarily. You can't fake a certain kind of class. Look at Ethan. He's got a gentlemanly air about him. You can't fake that," Chloe countered, shaking her head. Leo was getting annoyed. "Chloe, why are you defending him so much? I've never seen you stick up for anyone like this." "I'm not defending him. I'm just telling the truth. Look at Ms. Thorne. Even in casual clothes, you can't hide her aura. If I were casual clothes, I just look casual." Seeing the two of them about to argue, Liam couldn't help but chuckle. He leaned close to Cassandra's ear and whispered, "See, I told you those two had something going on." Leo's getting jealous. Cassandra was in no mood for banter. Her eyes were fixed on Penelope, and her cool voice cut through the air. She slandered you. She deserves to die. Liam raised an eyebrow and immediately tried to placate her. Hey, calm down. You can't always talk about killing people. It's not good for your emotional health. Hearing his concern, Cassandra's anger subsided slightly, but her words were still sharp. What do you want to do? Liam propped his chin on his hand, thinking for a moment. Let's not rush things. First, let's see what the deal is with this Ethan guy. He looked at Riley. Riley, how much do you know about him? Riley looked over. Not much. I just know he's the captain of the CME sports team, and I think he's also the owner. That explains it. Liam wasn't particularly interested in gaming, but he knew a thing or two about esports teams. Building one cost a fortune. This Ethan guy was clearly a big shot. What did you figure out? Cassandra asked, turning to look at him curiously. Liam smiled. A person like Penelope only latches onto the rich. Didn't you hear her? She's a poor student. That's probably how they met. With that one statement, the relationship between Ethan and Penelope was more or less figured out. Chloe shot a disdainful look at Penelope's back. Why can't she just rely on herself? Why all these games? Hearing the phrase rely on herself, Liam's eyebrows shot up. He remembered a call he'd gotten a long time ago from one of Penelope's friends, saying she owed money for some film project. He couldn't be bothered and never heard anything more about it. For a foreign film project, with Penelope being a student who had lost her financial support, you didn't need a PhD to figure out what that entailed. In that situation, rely on herself. Perhaps the only way to climb was by relying on men. Liam had no intention of exposing her. After all, for Penelope to have gotten this far on her own was, in a twisted way, almost inspirational. As long as she didn't cause any trouble, of course. Seeing Liam remain silent, Cassandra looked over. What scheme are you cooking up now? Brother, do you have a plan to mess with her? We'll back you up, Chloe said, getting excited. Acting was way too much fun. Leo nodded eagerly. Yeah, Liam, if you got a good idea, just say it. We're all in. Riley was also rubbing her hands together in anticipation. Come on, Liam, spill it. I'm really not happy with her right now. The few of them at the table were all on his side. Seeing everyone's eyes focused on him, a warm feeling spread through Liam's chest. He never thought he'd have a day where he was the center of the group's affection. Moved, he glanced at Penelope and said calmly, let's just see what happens first. No rush. If she doesn't do anything too out of line, we can just ignore her. That's it. Cassandra sounded very dissatisfied with this plan. If someone had maligned her, she would have made them regret it dearly. Liam, that's let her off way too easy. Yeah, man, we've got your back. Don't be afraid of her. The group grew agitated. What's the point of total annihilation? She hasn't recognized me yet. Besides, do you really think she's not going to cause any trouble? Liam said with a smile. Chloe was about to say more, but Cassandra cut in with a final verdict. We'll do as Liam says. If she dares to cause trouble, I will make sure she regrets it. With Cassandra having spoken, everyone else nodded in agreement. A short while later, Penelope and Ethan returned with a plate of food. The heat from the grill had melted Penelope's makeup, ruining her image. Ethan was fine, just a little sweaty. As they sat down, Penelope immediately asked Chloe if she could borrow some makeup. Chloe just said she didn't bring any for touch-ups. Penelope didn't dare ask the other two women at the table, so she was forced to eat with her smoky, smudged makeup. Riley, could I invite you to a concert tomorrow? Ethan asked, not long after sitting down. Before Riley could answer, Penelope jumped in. Ethan, darling, can I come with you? As expected, Liam's guess was spot on. Penelope was a handful. Riley was disgusted and didn't bother to speak. Chloe's expression soured, and she became Riley's mouthpiece. Miss Hamilton, there are two friends going to a concert. Why do you have to insert yourself? Leo followed up immediately. Yeah, seriously. Where I'm from, people with no manners get thrown in a wood chipper. The comment was harsh, but Riley loved hearing it. Cassandra just ate calmly, enjoying the show with Liam. Penelope's face flushed with embarrassment. She forced a pained smile, putting on a pitiful act. Sir, I've just never been to a concert before. My family didn't have much money growing up, and it was a struggle just to get into a university abroad. I was just curious. Her sob story left everyone stunned. Liam was stunned, too. When did his second sister become such a good actress? She could spin lies without even blinking. Cassandra looked at Liam, her face softening with sympathy. You really had it rough all those years. Forced to endure the manipulative lies of the people he lived with, she was starting to understand why Liam had been so desperate to escape when he first met her. Surrounded by deceit and mistreatment, if he hadn't tried to run away from her manner, that would have been strange. It's all in the past. I have you all now, and I'm very happy, Liam said with a genuine smile. But it was that very smile that made Cassandra's heart ache even more. What kind of strength did it take to speak of such a painful past so openly? It wasn't just the Hamiltons. Later, the Landons had schemed against them too. Both families were gone now, but if they weren't, she would never have let them off the hook. Seeing Penelope's pathetic appearance, made even more tragic by her smudged, charcoal-stained makeup, Ethan's pity was stirred. Friend, that's a bit harsh to say to a girl, don't you think? Not everyone is born into wealth. Who would have thought Ethan would actually defend Penelope? Liam put on a look of pure amusement. This guy isn't deep. Cassandra gave Riley a look of utter contempt. What kind of guy did you pick? All money and no brains. Does someone like that even deserve you? Riley covered her face with her hands, hiding her embarrassment. Stop, I know I messed up. She mumbled. Penelope was deeply moved. She took Ethan's arm, her voice fragile and full of gratitude. Ethan, don't say any more. I'm fine. It's my fault for being so clueless and ill-mannered. Ethan sighed. It's okay, Penelope. There's nothing wrong with coming from a poor family. You've already worked so hard. Their conversation carried over to the others. Riley's mouth was practically twitching off her face. Chloe looked on with a kind of awe, impressed that someone so shameless could exist. Cassandra lay lazily in Liam's lap, enjoying his temple massage while she rested. Liam leaned down slightly. Good show. Can't bear to watch, Cassandra replied, but then added, but it's kind of fun. She opened her eyes, peeking at Penelope through her lashes. When are you going to expose her? Whenever I feel like it, Liam replied with a grin, shifting his numb leg. How about I carry you to the car? It's getting a little cramped here. Cassandra nodded lightly. Liam slid his hands under her knees and lifted her into his arms. I'm going to take Cassandra to rest. You guys enjoy the food. Seeing Liam leave, Penelope was suddenly energized. She quickly stood up to offer a toast to Riley and the others. But no one was interested in talking to her. Chloe and Leo made an excuse to go for a walk and left. Riley's mood was completely ruined, and she went to her car without even finishing her meal. Ethan saw this and hurried after her. The once full table was now empty except for Penelope. She stared in the direction Liam had gone, and after a moment's thought, decided to test the waters. She tiptoed over to Liam's car. Through the window, Liam saw Penelope sneaking around, peering inside. But their windows were tinted. She couldn't see in. He exchanged a look with Cassandra and rolled down the window. The sudden movement startled Penelope, but when she saw Liam's familiar face, she grew nervous. Hi. I was wondering where the restroom is. Liam knowingly pointed in the general direction. But Penelope didn't leave right away. Instead, she smiled at Liam. I heard them say your name is Liam. Is that right? Liam knew exactly what she was doing. He smiled and nodded. That's right. Penelope's heart skipped a beat, but she pressed on. Have you met somewhere before? You look really familiar. I think you have the wrong person, miss, Liam said, casually wrapping his arm around Cassandra's neck. My wife and I have never seen you before. The word wife made Cassandra's heart soar. All her anger toward Penelope vanished. For a moment, she almost didn't want to expose her. With Penelope hovering around, Liam's affection for her was on full display. Oh, I'm so sorry, Penelope said, relieved, her gaze lingering on Cassandra. His wife was truly beautiful. There was no way her little brother Liam could ever be with such a stunning woman. These two must be married. Judging by their clothes and their aura, Penelope knew they were not simple people. They had been sitting in the main seats at the table. If she could befriend them, her future would be even smoother. Penelope's eyes darted around as she smiled and held out her hand to Liam. I have a brother who looks a lot like you. For a second, I thought you were him. Liam's eyes flickered. He smiled back. Oh, really? Is he as handsome as me? Definitely not. My brother made some mistakes a while back. I still miss him a lot. Actually, if he could just come back and apologize to our family, we would forgive him. Oh well. Penelope's words were vague, but she was subtly trying to show Liam her good nature. Hearing this, Cassandra frowned. But the next second, as if an idea struck her, she suddenly spoke up. What a poor little sister. A girl this pitiful. She paused, then turned to Liam with a dramatic shift in tone. Honey, let's give her a number. If she runs into any trouble in life, we can help her out. It was rare to see Cassandra so interested in joining the fray. Liam couldn't miss the cunning glint in her eyes. He suppressed a laugh and said with a look of deep sympathy, My wife is right. Let's do as she says. After taking the phone number Liam offered, Penelope was overflowing with gratitude, thanking them profusely. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Tomorrow, we scholarship students are having our appreciation meeting. Could I invite you and your wife to attend? If they actually came, Having such powerful people at the event would give her so much face. Liam saw right through her. He glanced at Cassandra. "What do you think, honey?" "We'll see tomorrow," Cassandra said, stretching lazily before snuggling against Liam's back, taking a few possessive breaths of assent. Liam gave Penelope a "you heard my wife" look. Penelope didn't dare press the issue. Seeing how lovey-dovey they were, she could only smile and nod. "Okay, then I'll be in touch." With that, she hurried away. Watching her leave, Cassandra raised an eyebrow, her mood excellent. "Messing with people is actually kind of fun." "I told you you'd like it," Liam replied with a laugh. Cassandra touched a finger to his lips. "No, I just think it's fun messing with people with you. If it were just me, I wouldn't waste the energy." The message was clear. She was happy to be on the same team as him. How could Liam not understand what she meant? Seeing the sky darken outside, he smiled. "Are we heading back tonight? Or should we just stay here?" Cassandra glanced around indifferently. "Up to you. I'm good either way. But if we sleep in the car, it's going to be a little small. Might get crowded," Liam said, stating the obvious as he looked around the vehicle. They hadn't brought the big SUV this time, and a makeshift bed in the wilderness was no match for their bed at home. The quality of sleep would definitely be worse. It would have been fine if it was just Cassandra, but with him there too, it would be a tight squeeze. Hearing this, Cassandra subconsciously stroked her stomach. She thought for a moment and said, "Then let's go back. I'm not really supposed to be sleeping in a car right now." Seeing her touch her stomach, Liam frowned. Cassandra still didn't know about the fake pregnancy. If the doctor told her the truth at the upcoming checkup, Liam wasn't sure how she would react. He decided to test the waters. "Cassandra, can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead. If someone lied to you, but they didn't do it on purpose, would you be angry?" Before he could finish, Cassandra's face turned to ice. She stared at him, her hand shooting out to grab his collar, yanking him forward. "What do you mean by that?" she demanded, her expression frigid. Liam's heart seized. A faint feeling of suffocation crept up his throat. He realized she had misunderstood. "I didn't mean anything by it. I was just asking." Cassandra's brow furrowed as she stared at him, her icy gaze threatening to freeze him solid. After a long silence, she spoke, her voice cold. "I don't care what the reason is. If anyone dares to deceive me, even with a white lie, I will never let them go." Her words seemed to be aimed at something specific, like a warning. Liam silently wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead. He was already starting to mourn for Evelyn, Haley, and Riley. He should have known. With Cassandra's personality, how could she ever tolerate being deceived? Seeing Liam go quiet, and now wiping away sweat after asking such a strange question, Cassandra's heart tightened. She leaned in closer, her voice sharp. "Don't tell me you've lied to me about something." No, I haven't." Liam shook his head frantically. Cassandra clearly didn't believe him. She tightened her grip on his collar. "Swear it." Liam didn't hesitate. "I swear if I've ever deceived you, then let me P11.She. Before he could finish, Cassandra lunged forward, tackling him onto his back and covering his mouth with her hand. His eyes went wide as he stared up at her in disbelief. Her hostility had vanished, replaced by a clear tenderness in her eyes. "All right, you don't have to swear," she said, her tone almost doting. "I believe you. I believe that if you ever did lie to me, there must have been a reason. I wouldn't be mad at you, but you could talk to me about anything. I'll always be with you." It was a full, unrestrained confession, so powerful, so direct, that Liam was left with no room to resist. There were so many people in the world, yet somehow he and Cassandra had collided, igniting so many fiery clashes that they had become inseparable. Meeting her adoring gaze, Liam raised a hand and clasped her wrist. "Okay," he answered softly. "Don't worry. I won't lie to you again." It was meant to be a sincere promise, but Cassandra heard something else entirely. Her hand pressed down, and her voice turned cold and sharp. "So, you're saying you have lied to me before?" Stunned by her sudden leap in logic, Liam was about to explain when a shriek came from outside the window. They both whipped their heads around to see Chloe and Leo standing by the car. The wide-open window gave them a perfect view of the scene inside. Him on the bottom, her on top. Chloe immediately covered her eyes, but deliberately left a gap between her fingers, mumbling, we didn't mean to." Leo stood beside her, his face turned away, but it was clear from the tension in his body that he was mortified. Cassandra's expression shifted. She released Liam's collar and sat up calmly, looking at Chloe. "Is there something you need?" Chloe stammered, "I just saw it was getting dark, so Leo and I came to ask if we're staying here tonight, and how we're supposed to sleep." They had only brought 3 cars. If they stayed the night, did that mean she would have to sleep in the same car as Leo? Sure, they had been alone in a room before, but that was a bedroom. This was a car, a tiny space. If they bumped into each other or something, she wouldn't be able to calm her racing heart all night. Leo nodded, scratching his head. If we're staying here, I was thinking I could sleep in my car, and Chloe could sleep with Miss Riley in the luxury SUV. That way there's more space. Cassandra, having already made up her mind, didn't elaborate. We're going back to the manor. Liam, however, looked at Chloe and Leo. Chloe, Leo, where are you guys staying now? We're in the international student dorms near the university, Chloe replied, clearly not having had enough fun yet. Hearing this, Liam thought for a moment, then turned to Cassandra. Then, Cassandra, how about they just move out of the dorms and live at the manor? We just need to clear out 2 empty rooms. Fine, Cassandra agreed without hesitation. It gets pretty boring with just Evelyn and the others around anyway. It'll be livelier with more people. She was pregnant now and couldn't do much. If a few more people moved in, there would be more opportunities for entertainment. They could play cards, for instance. Liam was probably thinking along the same lines. Cassandra gave Liam a deep look, a flicker of gratitude in her heart. He really did think of her in every little detail. Their relationship had improved so much. What else was there to worry about? Really? Leo, and I can live at the manor too? Chloe was ecstatic, looking at Cassandra and Liam with pure gratitude. The only time in her life she had lived in such a big villa was at the Thorne Estate in NYC, and then briefly at the Landon Estate. She felt like a character in a movie, the ugly duckling who had somehow become a swan. Leo was equally thrilled. Ever since he'd met Liam, he'd earned more money than he'd ever dreamed of, done things he never dared to do, and even lived in a massive villa, making his family proud. He'd even fulfilled his dream of studying abroad. Liam had given him all of this. In that moment, Leo felt incredibly lucky to know him. A guy who gets rich and doesn't forget his friends. He would follow a man like that for the rest of his life. Of course, Liam nodded. Go tell Riley. We're getting ready to head back. Okay, I'll go tell Miss Riley right now. Chloe said cheerfully, linking arms with Leo as they headed to the back car. Riley was still sulking in her vehicle. When she saw Chloe and Leo approaching, she snapped, "What do you two want? To laugh at me?" The sudden attack caught Chloe off guard. Of course not. Leo and I aren't like that. Yeah, Miss Riley, did we do something wrong? Leo asked, scratching his head in confusion. Seeing their reactions, Riley realized she'd overreacted. She sighed. Sorry, I'm just in a really bad mood. I wasn't thinking. Don't take it personally. Chloe exchanged a look with Leo. It's okay. I don't think Mr. Ethan knew what Penelope was really like. You can still talk to him. Just keep your distance. No need to get so close. Hearing Chloe defend Ethan again, Leo got annoyed. I don't know. He could have known and was just playing along. Leo, what is with you today? Why do you keep contradicting me? Chloe shot back, pointing a finger at him. I'm not contradicting you. I'm a guy. I know how guys think. Besides, you just met him today, and you're already defending him. Leo's voice trailed off, his displeasure written all over his face. Watching them, Riley sighed. All right, you two stop fighting. Let's just say I stepped in crap today and dropped the subject. Her loud declaration shut them both up, right? Riley remembered, looking up. What did you two come here for? Ms. Thorne said we're heading back and told us to come let you know. Chloe answered quickly. Fine. I don't want to be here anymore anyway, Riley said without argument, settling back in her car seat. Seeing this, Leo and Chloe exchanged a look but said no more. Chloe closed the car door, glanced at Ethan and Penelope, still chatting and laughing in the distance, and sighed. Leo, I don't want to see them either. Can you go tell them we're leaving? Sure, I'll do it. Leo didn't hesitate, striding over to where they were. When they heard the news, Penelope didn't react much, but Ethan was surprised. You're leaving already? Where's Miss Riley? I should at least say goodbye. You probably shouldn't, Leo said, giving Penelope a complicated look. You have her contact info, right? You can meet up some other time. His words were loaded, and even Penelope understood what was happening. The clueless Ethan, however, didn't catch on. He just nodded. That's a good idea. You guys go ahead. I'll apologize to Miss Riley some other time. Some other time? Buddy, that ship has sailed, sunk, and become a coral reef. Leo silently roasted him, then shot a disgusted look at Penelope, who was winking at him. He didn't say anything more and got into the car with the staff. The convoy began its journey back to the manor. On the way, Cassandra fell asleep again. Liam wasn't sure if she was genuinely tired or just overworked, but it seemed like she was falling asleep a lot lately. Sometimes they'd be in the middle of a conversation, and she would just drift off. Looking at her sleeping face, Liam decided that after her next checkup, he would take her for a full physical. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to rest easy. Since he had given Evelyn a heads up, rooms for Leo and Chloe were prepared by the time they got back. Their rooms were on the third floor. The manor had an elevator, so getting up and down was an issue. Riley and the others lived on the second floor. With 2 new people, the once desolate manor suddenly felt full of life. Glancing at the withered flowers in the garden, Liam thought he should hire a gardener. They would be living here for a long time, and looking at dead flowers all day wouldn't be good for anyone's mood. When the car came to a stop, the movement woke Cassandra. She opened her eyes to see Liam carrying her toward the bedroom. She greedily nuzzled against him. "You're awake." Feeling the slight movement in his arms, Liam smiled and looked down. I was just thinking, maybe we should hire a few gardeners for the yard." Cassandra didn't even have to think about it. "Sure," she said lazily. "You can arrange it." "All right, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll tell Evelyn to hire a few. But for the design, I hope you'll choose it with me. After all, this is our home." His words were utterly sincere. Just hearing that was enough to make Cassandra deeply satisfied. She, who had always lacked a sense of security, finally found it in the arms of the man holding her so tightly. She unconsciously gripped his sleeve and smiled. "Okay, whatever you say, I'll do. I'll listen to you." The next day, Liam went to class as usual. It was Friday, and after his morning classes, the afternoon was usually filled with various student get-togethers. But Liam was in a hurry to get back to his wife, so he declined all invitations and headed to the university entrance, where he saw Chloe and Leo waiting. Since moving into the manor, they now commuted with Liam, with Haley Lou acting as their chauffeur. Just as they greeted each other, Liam's phone rang. It was an unknown number. He raised an eyebrow and answered. Penelope's voice came through the line. "Liam, we're holding our appreciation meeting at Gatton University today. It starts at 2:30. Can I invite you to come?" Liam was about to refuse when Penelope added, "Mr. Ethan and Miss Riley are here too, so I wanted to invite you to join them." "Miss Riley? Riley?" Liam was taken aback. Yesterday, Riley had gone home in a huff. Why would she agree to go to this today? Since Riley was his sister-in-law, he felt it was necessary to check on her. He opened the car door and motioned for Chloe and Leo to get in. Once they were inside, he spoke into the phone. "All right, I'll head over now. Send the location to my phone." "Okay, I'll wait for you at the main gate." Penelope chirped, her voice giddy. After hanging up, Liam leaned toward the driver's seat. "Haley, does Cassandra know Riley went out today?" "I don't think so," Haley said, thinking for a moment. "Miss Thorne has been in her room all day. I haven't seen her come out. She probably doesn't know." Liam frowned. So Riley must have snuck out. His sister-in-law was a real handful. "Brother, what are you doing? Get in the car," Chloe called out, leaning against the window. "I have to take care of something." "You and Leo head back first," Liam instructed. He turned to Haley. "Haley, when you get back, tell Cassandra I want to pick up Riley, and I'll be back later." It wasn't the first time Liam had suddenly left on his own. Haley knew Cassandra's attitude. As long as he came back on time and gave a brief explanation, she would understand. So she didn't object. "Okay," Haley nodded. "Be careful. You can send me your location later, and I can come pick you both up." "Sounds good," Liam nodded. He turned to Chloe. "Chloe, I scheduled some gardeners to come by. They should be at the manor soon. Cassandra is probably still sleeping, so I'll have to trouble you and Leo to handle hiring them." "Brother, what are you talking about? No need to be so formal with us." "Yeah, Liam, you go do your thing. Chloe and I can handle it. No problem." Chloe and Leo agreed without a second thought. Liam smiled, relieved, and watched them drive away. Once they were gone, he hailed a cab and gave the driver the Gatton University location Penelope had sent. Less than half an hour later, the taxi arrived. From a distance, Liam could see Penelope in a white dress, standing at the gate and looking around anxiously. As he got out of the car, she spotted him and walked over with a sweet smile. "Liam, over here." Penelope's smile was radiant. She was wearing a string of pearls around her neck. Noticing his gaze, she laughed and held up the necklace. "It's fake. A replica I found at a flea market. I'm a girl, I like to dress up a little." Regardless of whether it was real or fake, the unsolicited explanation made Liam frown slightly. But he didn't say anything, just asked, "Where's Riley?" "They're both inside, Mr. Ethan already took her in. I'll take you to them," Penelope said enthusiastically, leading the way. He followed her to a large lecture hall in the research building. A sea of young women filled his vision. Judging by their clothes, most of them were indeed scholarship students. The only two who looked out of place were Ethan and Riley. They were sitting in a back corner, surrounded by a few other girls. Ethan had a faint smile on his face as he chatted with them, but Riley was frowning, her usual bubbly demeanor replaced by a stern expression. When she saw Liam enter, it was as if she'd seen her savior. She shot to her feet and waved frantically. "Liam," she called out, then scrambled out of her seat and jogged over to him. "You're finally here. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore." Her actions drew the attention of many people in the room. Liam glanced at Penelope beside him and smiled. "Miss Hamilton, is there a break room here? I was in the car for a while and would like to rest." "Yes, of course." Penelope nodded eagerly and gestured toward a door. "This way." Liam exchanged a look with Riley, and they followed Penelope into the break room. "You two rest well. The meeting starts in an hour. I'll come get you then." Penelope poured them each a glass of water, smiled, and left. As the door closed, Riley let out a huge sigh of relief and finally started to vent. "Oh my God, Liam. If you hadn't come, I don't know what I would have done. They were all crowded around me, and I couldn't just walk away. You have no idea. I was about to suffocate." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Riley, what are you doing here with Ethan again anyway? Don't even ask." Ethan said he found out I was the second daughter of the Thorne family and had something important to discuss with me, something about our family. But the moment I got in his car, that ghost Penelope appeared out of nowhere. Then he dragged me to this appreciation meeting. In front of all those people. How could I refuse? Riley ranted without taking a breath. Liam understood immediately. He looked at her, teasing. "You could have just said no." The great Miss Thorne, getting morally blackmailed. His words made Riley's face flush red. She shot up from her seat and yelled at him, "Liam, what kind of thing is that to say? Before, when I was on my own, I could fool around because no one knew who I was. But now, Ethan knows I'm a Thorne. That means when I'm out, I'm representing our family. No matter what, I have to act with some dignity." He had to admit, while Riley always seemed playful and carefree, she was surprisingly serious when it mattered. It wasn't a trivial issue. Once a prominent family got linked to something as loaded as underprivileged students, any media outlet would turn it into a firestorm. It was no wonder she had caved. But Riley seemed to be missing a key point. "Riley, sometimes I really have to wonder about you. Have you forgotten what your sister does for a living?" Liam couldn't help but say, "That doesn't matter." Riley shook her head vigorously, her face a little pale. "Didn't Evelyn tell you? I lied to my sister about her being pregnant. That issue isn't even resolved yet, and now this mess. If I don't handle this right, I'm absolutely finished." So that was the root of the problem. Liam felt a wave of nostalgia. It was true what they said. Every person has their weakness. His wife's very existence was Riley's kryptonite. One stern look from Cassandra was enough to scare this girl speechless. Liam smiled and conceded. "All right, since I'm here, you can sit with me for a while, and then we'll find an excuse to leave. Simple." Okay. Riley nodded frantically, her face full of gratitude as she grabbed his arm, as if she'd found her anchor. The minutes ticked by. Neither of them touched the water Penelope had poured. 5 minutes before the meeting started, Penelope came in to get them as promised. They followed her to the large lecture hall, which was now completely full. Ethan was sitting in the front row. When he saw Liam and Riley enter arm in arm, his face instantly darkened. "Miss Riley, this seat is reserved for you." Penelope started, pointing to the empty seat next to Ethan. But Riley's voice cut her off. "No, thanks. I want to sit with my brother-in-law." Ethan, sitting right there, turned black as coal. Seeing this, a flicker of calculation passed through Penelope's eyes. She quickly cleared 2 seats for them in the front row against the wall. "Then you two can sit here." Riley pulled Liam along and finally sat down obediently. From a short distance away, Ethan's gaze turned grim. His hostile eyes were fixed on Liam, a new sense of rivalry brewing. Penelope took it all in but said nothing, simply walking to the podium to give her opening remarks. It was called an appreciation meeting, but it also served as a preliminary selection for the next round of scholarship funding. After her speech, a host came on stage and the students began their presentations. Liam had seen this before at universities back home. It was basically a contest to see who could write the most tragic story about their family and parade it in front of everyone. The system was rigged, too. The winners were usually predetermined. He wondered if it was the same here. With the first student taking the stage, the speeches began. Nearly every one of them brought a prepared script, reading their lines as if they were walking to their own execution. It was so dull that Riley started yawning. "So, this is what an appreciation meeting is like." "So boring," she mumbled. "If they just spoke with a little more passion, I might even be willing to donate some money." "Oh, look at you, the young heiress, having such charitable thoughts," Liam teased with a smile. Riley snorted, frowning. "My sister and my dad do charity work all the time. They just don't take me with them. You're about to fall asleep, just sitting here. If they took you and the media got a picture, they'd say you were acting like a spoiled brat. Of course they don't take you," Liam thought to himself. He couldn't blame Riley for being bored. He was bored, too. It felt like a creative writing conference. These sob stories might have worked back home, but they felt out of place here. If you were truly poor, you probably couldn't even leave the country, let alone afford the brand-name phones many of these students were using. But he was here to keep his sister-in-law company, so he kept his thoughts to himself and just watched the show. He let his gaze wander aimlessly, but then he saw something. Penelope was leaning over and whispering something in Ethan's ear. Then the two of them slipped out the back door together. His eyes narrowed slightly, but before he could think more about it, he heard a familiar voice. "Hello, everyone. My name is Sandy Cho." Liam whipped his head toward the stage. The girl standing there was none other than Sandy, the girl he had worked with at St. Polydor's Bistro. As their eyes met, Sandy seemed to have just noticed him too. Her eyes widened in surprise. Liam was actually at this meeting, and sitting in the front row like a judge. Seeing the exquisitely dressed and bubbly Riley next to him, a wave of self-consciousness and embarrassment washed over Sandy. She clutched her script, spoke her name into the microphone, and then stopped. Her voice trailed off, and for a long moment, there was only silence. Just as the host was about to prompt her, Sandy squeezed her eyes shut. When she opened them again, her gaze was firm. "My family's financial situation isn't great, and while I work part-time, it only covers some of my tuition and living expenses. I really hope to get this scholarship, but I don't want to earn it by selling my tragic story. So, I don't plan on sharing my family situation with you all. I hope you can understand." She finished, bowed to the audience, and walked off the stage. Everyone in the audience was an international student. They all knew the unspoken rules of these speeches. Sandy's approach left them stunned. Whispers broke out in the crowd. With that speech, she's definitely not getting it. What was she thinking? That was so bold. Maybe she doesn't need the money and is just here for fun. She's crazy. As Sandy passed by Liam, her face was bright red. She kept her head down as she walked back to her seat and didn't look up again. The drowsy Riley, however, was jolted awake by Sandy's speech. "That girl is refreshingly honest." Liam nodded in agreement. He knew she was probably just embarrassed because a familiar face, was there. But he knew Sandy. She was a hard worker, always striving, a girl whose passion could easily inspire those around her. He had met her when he was at his lowest, just coasting. It was her vibrant energy that had motivated him to stop touching the money in his account. He never expected to run into her again like this. If she was here competing, she must have run into some trouble. A girl like that, Liam felt, was worth helping. Outside the back door of the lecture hall, Ethan looked at Penelope in confusion. "Penelope, you said you had something important to tell me?" Penelope's eyes flickered. She looked up at him, putting on a cute expression. "Ethan, darling, do you like that Miss Riley?" "What?" Ethan was stunned, completely unprepared for how direct she was. "Penelope, what are you talking about? We're just friends. Good friends," he stammered. His sudden blush only confirmed what Penelope already suspected. It was obvious to anyone with eyes. Her eyes darted around, and she smiled sweetly. "Ethan, I can help you, you know." "Help me." Ethan was taken aback, then laughed. "Don't be silly. You're the last one to speak. You should be preparing your speech." "That's not important." Penelope grabbed his wrist, her voice syrupy. "With you here, Ethan, it doesn't matter if I do well or not. You know my family situation. Please." Other people had to compete, but did she? All she had to do was stay on Ethan's good side. Why would she need to resort to those tacky tactics? She was above selling a sob story. Ethan stared at her and sighed. The image of Riley and Liam's intimate behavior flashed in his mind, and his heart clenched. He couldn't help but ask, "You said you could help me. How?" Penelope blinked, a mischievous grin on her face. "I'll find a way to get her brother-in-law out of the picture. That way you and Miss Riley can have some alone time." She stood on her tiptoes, leaned close to his ear, and began to whisper. "Here's what we'll do. Riley, can you do me a favor in a little bit?" As the speeches on stage continued, Liam turned to Riley and whispered. Riley was surprised. "Liam, we're family. You don't have to ask like that. Just tell me what you need." Liam scratched his head, a little embarrassed. "All right, then I'll be direct." He glanced back at Sandy Cho, then leaned closer to Riley's ear. "Later, I want you to sponsor that girl, Sandy, the one who just spoke. But do it in your name." Following his gaze, Riley frowned slightly. "That girl is definitely impressive. But Liam, you could just sponsor her yourself. Why do it in my name?" Then, a look of realization dawned on her face, and she grinned at him. "Oh, I get it. You're afraid my sister will find out, right?" Liam shook his head. "That's not it. If Cassandra wants to know about these things, I'll tell her. Even if she doesn't ask, I plan on telling her when I get back. Since they had decided to be together properly, there would be no secrets between them. Of course, a certain distance was necessary, but so was a sense of security. He wouldn't let Cassandra's emotions become unstable because of him ever again. Hearing this, Riley's expression shifted from surprise to envy. Liam, that level of self-awareness. If my sister knew, she would be ecstatic. She knew his character was solid. From the first moment she met him, she knew he was someone she could rely on. It was a shame such a good man was now her brother-in-law. She couldn't have any improper thoughts. Riley couldn't help but smack her lips with a hint of envy. So what's the reason, then? I know her, Riley. You're a smart girl. You must have seen how awkward she was just now, so? Liam said honestly. Riley understood instantly. She looked at him in shock. She hadn't noticed before, but Liam was surprisingly considerate of other people's feelings. The thought that such a good man belonged to her sister, and then comparing him to the Ethan she'd met, made Riley's face scrunch up. Liam, she said without thinking, if only you weren't my brother-in-law. Look at the kind of guys I end up with. The comment made Liam's heart stop. He quickly scooted closer to the wall, looking at her warily. Hey, you little rascal, what kind of thing is that to say? I'm not that kind of guy. If Riley really meant that, their relationship as in-laws would be impossible. They couldn't even be friends. Seeing Liam's look of alarm, Riley realized what she'd said. She giggled, scratching her head awkwardly. I'm just kidding, just kidding. You're my brother-in-law. How could I think that way? She leaned in suddenly, grabbing his arm and pulling it against her. Liam's scalp tingled. One Cassandra was more than enough. If another one joined the mix, forget the moral implications. That she-tiger Cassandra would be lucky to leave him in one piece. Seeing that Riley had dropped the subject and was focused on the meeting again, Liam breathed a secret sigh of relief. A short while later, Penelope came in through the back door. Ethan wasn't with her. When their eyes met, Penelope gave him a sweet smile and took her seat. Liam couldn't be bothered with her. He had originally planned to find a chance to sneak away with Riley, but for Sandy's sake, he decided to wait until the meeting was over. Soon, it was time for the final speaker, Penelope Hamilton. She read from script, the same exact story she had told Chloe the day before. Hello, everyone. My name is Penelope Hamilton. I came from a well-off family, and we adopted a boy, my brother. Later, when my brother grew up, he stole all our family's money and caused my parents to disappear. Luckily, I had come abroad years earlier and escaped that fate. Listening to the fabricated story she had repeated countless times, Liam felt nothing but a faint urge to laugh. Penelope probably had no idea that the very brother she claimed had framed her family was sitting right there in the audience, listening to her lies. Liam suddenly lost the desire to mess with her. Instead, he wanted to see the look on her face when she found out he was the Liam from her story. That shocked, incredulous expression. It would be priceless. Liam himself didn't know when he had developed this dark sense of humor. It seemed that after meeting Cassandra, the devil inside him had been completely unleashed. Riley Thorne couldn't be bothered with the bird-like chirping of the speakers and popped in her earbuds, blasting music. After Penelope Hamilton left the stage, the selection process began. As per Liam's instructions, Riley went up and, in her own name, announced a donation of £500,000 to Sandy Cho. The moment the number was announced, the entire hall fell into a stunned silence. No one could have imagined that Sandy, with her fumbling, incoherent speech, would receive the largest donation of the entire event. Penelope stared at the donation form in disbelief. Riley's check was clipped to it, and when she saw the flamboyant signature in the bottom right corner, her face instantly darkened. The stipend Ethan gave her was only £50,000 a year, and that would end the moment she graduated. Now, Riley was throwing around 10 times that amount in a single go. The blatant disparity was infuriating. Seeing the other students eyeing Riley, eager to strike up a conversation, Penelope didn't rush. They didn't know, but she did. Riley Thorne was Liam's sister-in-law. If she had money, it meant Liam had money. And after seeing the stunning woman by Liam's side at the camping trip yesterday, she knew exactly how deep his pockets were. She already had his number. Once she got in with Liam, would she ever have to worry about money again? Penelope placed the donation form in the collection box, pretended to take a call, and then walked toward Liam with a look of manufactured panic. Liam, Miss Thorne, she called out, hurrying through the crowd. Riley glanced over, her smile vanishing. Is there a problem? Yes, an emergency, Penelope said quickly. You have to come with me. It's about Ethan. At the mention of Ethan's name, the surrounding crowd took a subtle step back. Sandy Cho, who had been building up the courage to go thank them, froze in her seat and didn't move. Riley and Liam exchanged a look. They both stood and followed Penelope into the corridor. It was a Friday, and aside from a few lingering parties, the campus was practically deserted. The three of them were alone in the empty hallway. Closing the door behind them, Penelope said urgently. Ethan just called me. He said he's not feeling well. I'm really worried. Riley, could you please go check on him? The ploy was so obvious, it was almost painful. Liam saw right through it. He simply nodded, taking Riley's wrist in his hand. Sure, he said. We'll go check on him together. Where is he now? He didn't give Penelope a chance to object. Seeing their intertwined hands, a flicker of something passed through Penelope's eyes. Follow me. We'll go together. With Liam by her side, a sense of calm settled over Riley. She wasn't afraid. She followed Penelope to a small lounge. Penelope placed her hand on the doorknob, but paused, looking at Liam. Riley, why don't you go in first? I have a few things I'd like to say to Mr. Lynn. Riley raised an eyebrow, looking to Liam for his decision. Liam glanced at the door. It didn't look particularly sturdy. If something happened inside, breaking it down would be easy. Besides, he was curious to see what kind of game Penelope was playing. He nodded. All right, Riley, you go on in. If you need anything, just call for me. Okay. Riley nodded, pushed the door open, and went inside, leaving the door slightly ajar. Hearing the normal-sounding conversation between Ethan and Riley, Liam relaxed. He looked at Penelope. You wanted to say something? Penelope glanced at the door, her eyes darting around before she put on a coquettish expression and smiled at Liam. Mr. Lynn, do you think I'm pretty? Her directness was jarring. Even in the empty hallway, the sudden question made Liam frown. He hadn't realized his second sister had become like this. Or maybe she had been this way all along. But a new desire was stirring in him, the desire to see the look on her face when the truth came out. He played along patiently. What are you trying to say? The moment he spoke, Penelope's hand landed on his arm. Her gaze was slick as she looked him up and down, and she tried to press her leg against his. Liam moved like lightning, stepping back and avoiding her touch. He frowned, his voice sharp with a warning. Miss Hamilton, if you have something to say, say it. But keep your hands to yourself. Surprised by his quick dodge, Penelope just raised an eyebrow and smiled slyly. Mr. Lynn, there are no cameras here. You can relax. She glanced at the door behind her with a knowing look. Miss Thorne is your wife's sister, right? You two were holding hands so naturally. Don't pretend with me. She winked. That was it. A wave of disgust washed over Liam, but with it came clarity. His second sister was so comfortable with this because this was who she'd always been. He felt a profound sense of relief that he wasn't a biological Hamilton. He would have hated to inherit their family's rotten core. Seeing Liam's silence, she mistook it for him weighing her value. Penelope knew this script by heart. Mr. Lynn, I know a successful man like you has a lot to consider. I can provide you with value. And of course, all I want in return is money. Whatever you decide to spare would be a priceless treasure to me. So that was her game, to get Riley out of the way for this pathetic pitch. Liam looked at her amused. And what value, exactly, can you provide me? Hearing this, Penelope knew her moment had arrived. She smiled. I understand the little urges married men have. I'm just a poor student, I don't have many skills, but I can definitely help you. Relieve some stress. As she spoke, her gaze traveled shamelessly downward. Looking at Penelope's triumphant expression, Liam just wanted to laugh. The urge to tell her the truth, just to watch her face crumble, reached its absolute peak. He looked at her with a deeply mocking expression, the corner of his lip twitching upwards. Miss Hamilton, this isn't going to work. Penelope froze. What do you mean? You're right, Liam nodded, his eyes glinting with amusement as he said it to her face. My point is, you're ugly and you're dreaming big. Instantly, Penelope's face flushed a deep, blotchy red. She stared at him, furious. What's that supposed to mean? How can you attack someone's appearance? Do you have any class at all? Class? She was asking him about class? Liam couldn't hold it back any longer. He laughed. You're right, you're right. I have no class. But, Penelope, why don't you take another look? A good long look. Tell me, who am I? Staring into Liam's achingly familiar face, at the knowing smile playing on his lips, a stone dropped in Penelope's stomach. A terrible premonition crept over her. That face was too similar, almost identical to the kept boy her family had taken in. But Penelope had been studying abroad for years. Her only contact with her brother was at the end of the month when she needed money, and even then, they rarely video chatted. It was mostly just phone calls. So, beyond her memory of him, she couldn't recall the finer details of his face. And yet, despite the years, he looked exactly the same. Time hadn't touched that face. You're Mr. Lynn. She forced a laugh, trying to hide her inner turmoil. You said it before, you're Mr. Lynn. I know that much. Liam didn't reply. He just kept staring at her with that faint, unnerving smile. Time seemed to stop. A strange tension seized Penelope's entire body. Something was wrong. Liam's reaction was all wrong. His eyes seemed to pierce right through her, and the moment they met hers, it felt like a physical blow. She suddenly felt as if she were standing naked before him, completely exposed. "You," she stammered, a horrifying realization dawning on her. "You." Penelope's mouth worked for a long moment, but she couldn't force the words out. Seeing that she was finally getting it, the amusement in Liam's eyes deepened. He stared at her, his voice dripping with scorn. "Penelope, you really are blind, aren't you? I'm standing right here in front of you, and you still don't recognize me?" His words confirmed her worst fear. Her eyes went wide. She clutched her chest and stumbled backward until her back hit the wall, her expression one of pure shock. Her panicked reaction only made Liam's smile widen. "Then again, I was just a foster kid. We never had any connection besides money, did we? I guess it's no wonder you can't recognize me." He had laid his cards on the table. Penelope's face was now completely drained of color, a ghastly white. She stared at him, her lips moving, but no sound came out. So, the rich and powerful man she had been trying to latch onto was the foster brother she had always looked down on? It wasn't that she was blind. Her first instinct had been right. He really was Liam. So, the man she had just tried to seduce was, in fact, her brother? Penelope was too stunned to speak. She just stared at him, a storm of emotions so complex she was rendered mute. This meant that from the very first moment he saw her, he had been watching her make a fool of herself. The pointed comments from the others at the camping trip yesterday, it was all real. They were all laughing at her. In an instant, her shock curdled into rage. How dare he? Liam had ruined her life, made it so she couldn't even contact her own parents or siblings, and now he was standing here, smiling at her? "It really is you." After a long silence, Penelope finally found her voice. She pointed a trembling finger at Liam, as if about to unleash a torrent of abuse, but the words caught in her throat. Liam watched her, a look of mock surprise on his face. "Oh, so second sister recognized me all along. It seems I hold a special place in your heart, after all." The words might have sounded like a compliment, but the tone was pure, cutting sarcasm. How dare you be so smug? Penelope's anger finally boiled over. "How dare you mock me? You're the reason I can't even reach my parents. You ruined our family. Why do you have to stand here and laugh at me?" Liam raised an eyebrow. "And how, exactly, did I ruin your family? You have the nerve to ask. You nearly got Jason killed in that car accident." Penelope was just getting started, ready to list all of Liam's supposed crimes, but he cut her off. "Penelope, I find it hard to believe someone like you doesn't go online. The video evidence is perfectly clear. Or have you seen it and chosen to twist the facts?" He showed her no mercy, his words sharp and direct. He even threw a little green tea logic back at her. "Or maybe you've seen the proof, but just can't accept it, so you keep telling yourself a different story?" She was no match for this kind of direct assault. She could only point and shriek. "Those videos can be faked. Who knows what you did behind the scenes? My family has always been upright and honest." That's hilarious. Liam truly couldn't hold it back. How had he never realized it before? His sisters were all, one by one, certifiably insane. When Isabel and Jason were caught secretly filming him, Isabel had insisted it was all his fault, too. It seemed old habits died hard. This family was so used to blaming him for everything. Right there, in front of Penelope, Liam burst out laughing. The sight sent Penelope into a greater fury. "What are you laughing at? I'm telling the truth. Even though I can't contact my parents, I've been working hard, relying on myself. Not like you, who ate our food and lived in our house, only to slander us in the end." Her words were so absurd Liam couldn't even be bothered to argue. He'd already seen her true colors. What was the point in debating facts that were already set in stone? He just smiled and gave her a thumbs up. "You're really something else. You." The blatant sarcasm was more than she could handle. She couldn't believe how much he had changed. The quiet, submissive boy was gone, replaced by this sharp-tongued monster. The fun of the game was wearing off. Liam's smile faded, and he looked at Penelope coolly. "Do you know why you can't contact your family?" Penelope froze. "Why?" "Because their lives are a complete disaster. They're all in jail. They don't have phones. Of course you can't reach them." Liam's face was placid, but his words were brutal. To his surprise, however, Penelope showed no hint of shock. Her rationality returned, her expression calming. "What does that have to do with me? They are them, I am me. Even if I can't contact them, I will never forgive you for what you did to our family." Liam was genuinely taken aback. He had not expected that kind of response. So, it wasn't that Penelope couldn't contact her family. It was more likely that if they had tried to contact her, she had simply refused the calls. Compared to that, Liam suddenly felt that his own selfishness wasn't so extreme after all. There were people in the world even more self-centered than him. He felt a grudging sense of admiration. His second sister was a true master of egotism. Wow, Liam said, his praise genuine. You're really incredible. He wasn't lying. He was truly impressed. But to Penelope's ears, the words dripped with sarcasm. I don't care what you think, Liam, she declared. I'll remember what you did to our family even after I'm dead and turned to ash. If you want my forgiveness, you'll have to offer some compensation. Liam had never met someone so shameless. He was morbidly curious to see just how far she would take it. He smiled. And what kind of compensation did you have in mind? At this, Penelope's spirits lifted. She stared at him, her mind flashing back to the camping trip. Liam's wife was undeniably elegant. For a married woman to have that kind of poise, her husband had to be incredibly wealthy. Although she didn't know how Liam had gotten so rich, everything they used was top tier. They even brought 5 or 6 servants on a camping trip. With that kind of setup, even the garbage Liam threw away was probably worth a fortune. The compensation, therefore, should be as much as possible. Glad you see it my way, Penelope said with a pout, crossing her arms. She began her list. I want you to compensate me with a house here, plus £1,000,000 in cash. Once the money is in my account, I can let go of what you did to our family. Hearing her exorbitant demand, Liam couldn't help but chuckle. £1,000,000 was nearly 10 million RMB, and that wasn't even including the house. Penelope Hamilton really had some nerve. Liam looked at her expression of absolute confidence, and raised an eyebrow. And what about your family? You don't care about them? Why should I care about them? I'm an adult now. Adults have their own voice. I'm an independent individual. What do I have to do with them? Her response almost left Liam speechless. But putting himself in her shoes, he couldn't resist retorting. So all those years they spent raising you, that was just their tough luck? Finding herself in a rare conversation with Liam, Penelope momentarily lost the urge to fight. She said calmly, you can't call it tough luck. I didn't ask them to give birth to me. Since they brought me into this world, it was their responsibility to raise me. After I became an adult, my life became my own business. It has nothing to do with them. She even added, with a staggering sense of self-righteousness, they should be grateful I haven't asked them for money since I came of age. The fact that I can take care of myself is already impressive enough. The logic was a classic. Liam admitted he'd seen similar arguments in online comment sections. Even a selfish person like him had found them insane. He never thought he'd witness it in person. Did Penelope feel no shame saying such things? He, a foster son, had felt a sense of gratitude before the Hamiltons had turned on him. Yet a biological daughter could speak so brazenly. Her worldview was so warped it was almost admirable. In his mind, Liam gave her another thumbs up. You're right. You're truly incredible. This conversation, which had started as a way to see Penelope's mask fall, had turned into an experiment to see just how shameless a person could be. Receiving Liam's praise again, Penelope lifted her chin arrogantly and commanded, So, hurry up and transfer the compensation to me. Liam couldn't help but laugh. You really do have beautiful dreams. Amazing, truly. Realizing he was mocking her, Penelope's face flushed red. She glanced at the half-open door to the lounge and threatened, Fine. Are you sure you won't give it to me? Liam was tired of bickering. At this point, he felt that arguing with someone like Penelope was an insult to his own intelligence. Seeing Liam was unmoved, Penelope got desperate. She pointed at him. Fine, you just wait. With that, she took a few steps back, deliberately messed up her own hair, and yanked her collar askew. Then, with the face of a victim, she screamed at Liam. Mister, Lynn, you can't do this. What are you doing? Help! Is anyone there? Liam watched the scene unfold, completely unfazed. He stood his ground, watching Penelope's spectacular performance, and even managed to pull out his phone and snap a few pictures. Seeing him take photos, Penelope panicked. She was about to lunge for the phone when the door behind her was thrown open. Penelope, are you all right? Mister, Lynn, what are you doing to her? Ethan rushed out, positioning himself protectively in front of Penelope. He gallantly took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Penelope's eyes were red. She let out a few racking sobs and whimpered, her voice frail, Ethan, you're finally here. Riley came out right after him and took in the scene, understanding everything in an instant. She walked straight to Liam's side and craned her neck to see his phone. Brother-in-law, you done taking pictures? When you are, send them to me so my sister can have a laugh. This feeling of being trusted was incredible. Liam smiled, still rolling. Look how chivalrous he is. Our mister. Ethan, his back doesn't hurt anymore, his stomach settled. He can even walk again. The shot hit its mark. Ethan's illness was a sham. Riley frowned, glancing at Ethan with displeasure. Ethan turned, his face dark, and raised a hand to block Liam's camera. Mr. Lynn, what do you think you're doing? Bullying a girl in broad daylight, and then brazenly taking pictures? Do you have any idea that's an invasion of her privacy? He then tried to pull Riley away. Riley, come here. Your brother-in-law is a terrible person. You need to stay away from him. But Riley sidestepped him easily, linking her arm with Liam's. She smiled sweetly. I don't need you to tell me what kind of person my brother-in-law is. We've known each other a lot longer than I've known you. So this was the joy of having your family back you up. In that moment, Liam felt it completely. It was like a dream, having someone support him no matter what he did. It felt amazing. The standoff grew tense. Penelope sobbed a few more times. So, what if you've known each other longer? This Mr. Lynn tried to assault me. Everyone saw it. At that, Riley shot Penelope a look of pure contempt, sizing her up from head to toe. You're not even worthy of touching my sister's pinky toe. Why will my brother-in-law ever be interested in you? You're way too confident in yourself. Riley's words struck Penelope like a slap, leaving her face pale. She instinctively clutched Ethan's sleeve, her eyes brimming with tears, the perfect picture of a wronged victim. Ethan frowned, looking at Riley with disapproval. Riley, you can't judge a book by its cover. The girl I remember wasn't this shallow. How can you talk like that? His words made Riley laugh, a sharp, humorless sound that extinguished any lingering shred of goodwill she had for him. You're right, you can't judge a book by its cover, she shot back, her words a boomerang aimed straight at him. And how do you know what this Miss Hamilton you're protecting has done behind your back? Ethan's brow furrowed. He subconsciously glanced at Penelope. Penelope's face was ashen. Now that she knew Liam was her brother, she realized the people around him probably knew all about her past. But so what? Wasn't it Liam's fault she couldn't contact her family? Wasn't it Liam who ran off with all their money, forcing her to fend for herself just to pay tuition? A few months ago, she had finally paid off her debts through her own hard work, and by a stroke of luck, she had met Ethan. Her life was her own creation, built on her own merits. Even if they exposed her, she had nothing to be ashamed of. With this thought, a wave of confidence washed over Penelope. She gripped Ethan's sleeve tighter and stared directly at Riley. Whatever I've done is none of your business. As a rich heiress, how could you possibly understand the struggles of a poor student? I've relied on myself for everything. Ethan helps me because he sees my potential. What right do you have to say anything? The sheer audacity of her speech left Riley stunned. She turned to Liam, incredulous. Brother-in-law this? Her unspoken words hung in the air. This is your sister? How did you ever put up with this? Liam didn't know his sister was this independent either. He was just glad he was hearing these words from Penelope's own mouth. Otherwise, he'd never have believed a person like this could exist outside of an internet meme. Seeing Riley speechless, Penelope grew even more confident. Miss Thorne, you've had everything handed to you your whole life. You don't know what it's like for us poor people. I've never fought or schemed for anything. Perhaps. She started to sob again, tears welling in her eyes. Perhaps this Mr. Lynn saw my good character, and that's why he wanted to take advantage of me. Ethan's heart filled with pity. He gently patted Penelope's head and whispered, Penelope, don't blame yourself. You're an excellent person. It's because you're so remarkable that people admire you, to the point that some might do something like this in broad daylight. As he spoke, his sharp gaze swept over Liam, filled with open hostility. Riley was completely done. She grabbed Liam's arm and muttered, Brother-in-law, let's go. Talking to people like this is an insult to my intelligence. The show was over. Liam readily agreed. He was about to nod when Ethan's threatening voice rang out. You're not leaving. Not until you apologize to Penelope. Liam paused and pointed to himself, incredulous. Me? Apologize? Yes, you. Ethan's voice was sharp. You can't just bully someone and walk away. You will apologize to Penelope today. Hearing this, Riley, who had been ready to let it go, felt her anger flare. She spun on Ethan, shouting without restraint. Who do you think you are, Ethan? Are you blind or deaf? Can't you see this woman is deliberately causing trouble? Why should my brother-in-law apologize to her? Who the hell is she? She's not worthy. Riley's face was flushed with fury. The angrier she got, the more hostile Ethan became toward Liam. He had known Riley through their online game for at least a month, ditching his own teammates to run raids with her every day. Now, they finally meet in person, and all she does is parade her brother-in-law in front of him. And now, she was screaming at him for that same brother-in-law. Ethan's long-simmering resentment finally exploded. Riley, how many times do I have to say it? The truth is right in front of your eyes. Your brother-in-law is not a good person. Why do you only trust him and not me? Why should I trust you? Who are you? What gives you the right to stand here and lecture me? Riley was in full-on attack mode, spraying venom at anyone in her path. The scene was so intensely dramatic it was a rare sight to behold. Liam couldn't help but marvel at Riley's talent for insults. In such a ridiculous situation, he would have just given them a thumbs up and called them amazing. Seeing that it was getting late and anxious to get home and share this story with Cassandra, Liam took Riley's wrist. Forget it, Riley. It's not worth wasting your breath on people like this. Let's go home. As if he were pulling back a snarling bulldog, Riley's tense posture immediately relaxed. Let's go. We're leaving. But Ethan was relentless. He took 2 steps forward, intending to grab Liam and force an apology, but he froze when Liam shot him a sharp, warning glance over his shoulder. Ethan's feet were rooted to the spot. As Liam and Riley walked away, a triumphant glint flashed in Penelope's eyes. She clutched Ethan's sleeve, her voice full of gratitude. Ethan, thank you so much for today. If it weren't for you, I don't know what I would have done. Knowing his chances with Riley were likely shot, Ethan sighed and pulled his arm away from Penelope, his tone distant. Don't thank me. I didn't do anything. Penelope wanted to say more, but Ethan had already turned and walked away. She clenched her fists, her eyes turning dark as she stared down the empty corridor where Liam had disappeared. Outside the building, Riley was still fuming. I must have been blind. I can't believe I didn't see what kind of person Ethan really is. Was he blind to that blatant schemer? He couldn't see it? It makes me so mad. Liam, never one for comforting words, said simply, don't be angry. Riley shot him a look, took a deep breath to calm herself, but couldn't stop muttering. Brother-in-law, seriously, what kind of hell was your life before? Your sisters are each more bizarre than the last. If it were me, I would have fought them to the death by now. Would fighting to the death be useful? Liam blinked, a small smile on his face as he asked the question. Riley didn't hesitate. Even if it wasn't, taking those scumbags down with me would be worth it. If I can't be happy, no one gets to be happy. Now, that was a true burn-it-all-down philosophy. Liam stopped abruptly. Riley, who had been walking toward the campus gate, paused, thinking she'd said something wrong. She turned back, looking at him with surprise. Brother-in-law, what's wrong? Did I say the wrong thing? She'd just been angry, talking about taking out his sisters. Had she made him mad? That didn't seem right. He hated them, too. Seeing Riley's cautious expression, Liam sighed. He walked back to her, stood in front of her, and placed his hands firmly on her shoulders, looking her straight in the eye. They're rotten people with rotten lives, he said seriously. If you trade your own happiness for people like that, it's not worth it. Meeting Liam's earnest gaze, Riley's eyes widened. She had never expected him to say something like that. But when she thought about it, it made perfect sense. For someone of her status to get into a life-or-death struggle with Penelope Hamilton, she would be the one to bear the infamy. Why would she trade her own life for a piece of trash like that? It would be a catastrophic loss. Although she understood the logic, she still couldn't help but argue. But if it really came down to it, and they were bullying me, am I supposed to just let them walk all over me? The phrasing was a bit crude. Liam laughed. That's why once I had the ability, I did my best to stay away from them. And actually, people like that have their uses. They help me identify which friends are worth keeping and which ones aren't. Isn't that their value to me? When it came to logic, Liam rarely lost. Riley had never thought of it that way. Like Cassandra, her approach had always been to crush anyone who annoyed her. With her family's resources, she'd never had to fear anyone. But from this perspective, knowing people like that could actually be beneficial. After mulling it over, Riley finally understood. She gave Liam a thumbs up. You're something else, brother-in-law. I never would have thought of that. I'll take that as a compliment, Liam replied with a smile. It is a compliment. If Ethan had half your brain, I wouldn't be this angry. Riley grumbled, then couldn't help but add, but I really should thank Penelope. If it weren't for her, I never would have known how stupid Ethan really is. Liam didn't say anything more, just smiled at her. Never mind Riley. He hadn't expected Ethan to know Penelope either. They chatted as they walked toward the campus gate. Just as they were about to hail a cab, Liam heard a familiar voice call out from behind him. Liam. He turned to see Sandy Cho walking toward them. Riley's anger had already vanished, replaced by her usual bubbly personality. Hey, you're the girl from before. Sandy blushed and nodded, hesitantly pointing at Liam's pocket. Liam was confused, instinctively patting his pocket. What's wrong? Sandy pulled out her phone and pointed at the screen. Liam, I sent you a friend request. Could you accept it? I have something to send you. Oh, Liam paused, then pulled out his own phone. It dawned on him that, after all this time working together, they had never actually exchanged contact info. Riley, ever curious, leaned over to peek at Liam's screen. With a soft ding, the friend request was accepted. Sandy said shyly, "It's still sending. It should be there in a minute." "Liam, thank you." She gave him a small, bashful bow, then turned and ran off, disappearing onto a bus before he even had a chance to ask what she was sending. Riley tugged on Liam's sleeve, a mischievous look on her face. "Brother-in-law, don't worry. I won't tell my sister about this." She mummed, zipping her lips shut. Seeing her sly grin, Liam's mouth twitched. "What are you talking about? Didn't you see? We weren't even friends before. We just added each other. Oh, but you're friends now." Riley's voice was teasing. She patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, Liam. I'm totally on your side." Seeing her act so tight-lipped, Liam didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was about to say something else when his phone buzzed. Riley was faster than him, craning her neck to see his screen. Liam just shook his head with a helpless smile and opened his phone. It was a message from Sandy. As soon as he opened it, he understood why she'd said it would take a minute. She had sent him a 5-minute-long video. Attached was a message. "Liam, I was a thank you and Miss Thorne, but I happened to see this, so I recorded it. I hope it's useful." The video was of the confrontation in the hallway between him and Penelope, recorded from beginning to end. The camera was close enough that with the volume turned up, their entire conversation was audible. Judging by the angle, she must have been in the stairwell next to the lounge. Liam was surprised. He hadn't known Sandy was there. When Penelope's voice came through the phone speaker, "What does that have to do with me?" Riley lost all patience. "Brother-in-law, you're seriously incredible. You just let her say things like that? If it were me, I would have slapped her across the face." So much for his earlier lesson. All that talk had been useless. Liam laughed. "Hey, Riley, with this video, your sister is going to have some premium gossip to enjoy today." Right. I could never retell it this perfectly. It's a good thing we have this video. Let my sister see the show." Riley got excited and hailed a cab. On the way to the estate, Riley had Liam send her the video, and she immediately blasted it out to all her group chats. Within 10 minutes, the chats exploded. Paige, her assistant, even took a moment out of her busy schedule to reply. "Miss Thorne, do you require off-site assistance?" Riley held her phone, laughing as she typed back. No, Paige, you're busy. I just sent it for your entertainment." "Paige, it is quite amusing, right? I told you it was hilarious." Riley's fingers flew across the screen. She added with a grin, "Paige, share this video around. Let everyone have a good laugh." Paige replied with an OK emoji. The video spread like wildfire through the entertainment industry's group chats. Since Paige knew scores of reporters, the video was leaked and immediately hit the national news in China, quickly climbing to the top trending spot. Hashtag Penelope Hamilton's bizarre rant. The comments section flooded with messages. "The modern model of an independent woman, I guess. Penelope Hamilton. Isn't she from that Hamilton family that was all over the news before? I remember someone else from the Hamiltons. Wasn't it that D-list actress, Noelle Hamilton? They haven't been seen in ages, right? I think Noelle just vanished." Netizens were fast. As the topic trended, the Hamilton family's sordid past was dredged up all over again. The internet has a long memory. As long as it wasn't censored, a quick search would reveal everything. Las Vegas. In a slum on the outskirts of the city, Sandra Hamilton, after days of grueling work at a local quarry, finally had a day off. Exhausted, she pushed open the door to their room. In the tiny 100-square-foot space, David Hamilton lay on the single bed. Next to him, Noelle sat staring blankly, silent. It was hardly appropriate for a grown woman like Noelle to share a bed with her father, but at this point, they were lucky to have a roof over their heads at all. Sandra sighed and squeezed into the room, barely managing to close the door. Before she could even sit down, she heard David roar from the bed. "This Penelope, I raised her for nothing. How could she say such traitorous things?" Sandra froze, then rushed over. "Honey, you have news about Penelope? See for yourself." David couldn't bear to listen to the video anymore. He shoved the phone in front of Sandra's face. From the phone, Penelope's brazen voice filled the small room. "They should be grateful I haven't caused them any trouble since I became an adult. I didn't ask them to give birth to me. Since they did, it was their responsibility to raise me." The words poured out, one after another. David was so enraged his face turned purple, and he almost choked. Sandra snatched the phone, staring at the screen in disbelief. It was definitely her second daughter, Penelope, but she was spouting such vile, ungrateful nonsense with a completely casual expression. Then, the camera shifted. Liam's face appeared on screen. Sandra's heart stopped. Someone must have forced her to say this. Sandra declared with conviction. Penelope would never say such things. Honey, look, that white-eyed wolf. Liam, he's right there. David was startled. He was about to take the phone back when he heard Noelle whisper from the side. Liam. It was like a trigger word. Noelle's mood instantly shifted. She became agitated, grabbing David's arm and shaking it violently. Dad, Mom, did Liam apologize to Jason yet? At the mention of Jason, a wave of grief washed over David's face. Sandra couldn't even bear to look at Noelle. Liam had ruined their family, destroyed them so completely they had no chance of escape. Sandra's eyes bored into Liam's face on the screen, her hatred palpable. Hearing no answer from her parents, Noelle grew more frantic, her eyes wide and unfocused as she shook David's arm. Dad, Mom, say something. Give her another tranquilizer. David sighed, looking at his daughter's vacant eyes. But his words were a lit match to a fuse. Sandra exploded. Where are we supposed to get tranquilizers? The little money I make isn't even enough to cover the interest on our debts. Where am I supposed to find money for tranquilizers? Her outburst set David off. He yelled back at her. If there's no money, can't you grit your teeth and find some? I told you to save, but no, you had to buy jewelry. What's the use of all that fancy trash now? You can't even get a decent price for it. Sandra, already bone-weary from a long day's work, stared at her husband in disbelief. In the past, David had adored her. When their child was lost and her mind had fractured, he had been the one to bring Liam home to soothe her spirit, and her illness had slowly healed. That was why she had never divorced him. First, they were bound by debt, and second, because David truly loved her. But now, he was yelling at her over something like this? Did he not know she'd been toiling at the quarry for days, so tired she couldn't see straight? Sandra's anger peaked. She pointed a trembling finger at David. David Hamilton, what right do you have to yell at me? If I weren't still able to work, do you think you and your mentally ill daughter would even have a place to live? You're a cripple with one leg, lying in bed all day, doing nothing, relying on me for everything. And now you dare to yell at me? She was so furious she almost fainted. The prolonged exhaustion made her unsteady, and she stumbled and fell onto the bed. David's anger vanished, replaced by regret. He apologized repeatedly. Sandra, it's my fault. I shouldn't have yelled. I lost control. I'm sorry. Sandra was too tired to even speak. She looked down at her filthy, dirt-caked clothes, now staining the bedsheets. She knew her one day off was already ruined. Thinking of Penelope's betrayal and the sight of Liam, smiling and successful in that video, a wave of despair washed over her, and she fainted. The Stanton estate. After getting out of the car, Riley went upstairs, happily tapping away on her phone. Liam went straight to the master bedroom. Dusk had fallen. The bedroom was lit by a warm, dim lamp. Cassandra was reclining on the sofa, dressed in a luxurious gray velvet robe, a thick English novel in her hands. She saw Liam enter and glanced at him from the corner of her eye, waiting for him to speak first. Liam, eager to share the day's entertainment, walked over and held out his phone with a grin. Cassandra, you won't believe what happened today. It was spectacular. Seeing his beaming face, the anxiety of waiting for him all day melted away. Cassandra raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What happened that has you so happy? Here, look. Liam handed her the phone. I went to pick up Riley this afternoon, and Penelope Hamilton pulled me into a corner and said this. Cassandra took the phone, her eyes falling on the screen. But unlike Liam, she didn't smile. Within seconds, a murderous glint appeared in her eyes. Have Palmer take a few men and get rid of her. I don't want to see her face ever again. Cassandra's expression was one of pure disgust as she handed the phone back, as if holding it a second longer would contaminate her fingers. That might not be the best idea, Liam said with a smile, taking the phone and placing it on the table. He added pointedly, she has a protector. Cassandra's brow furrowed slightly. Then have Evelyn investigate Ethan's background. We'll take care of both of them at the same time. Her decisive, brutal words shut Liam down completely. The CEO was in a league of her own, dealing in matters of life and death. Liam scratched his head, half of his amusement draining away. He sat down beside her, silent. Seeing his silence, and thinking she had ruined his mood, Cassandra bit her lip and amended, Never mind. I'm pregnant now. I probably shouldn't be around all this violence. Her words were a reminder. Liam suddenly remembered she still thought she was pregnant. He glanced at the time, then at Cassandra out of the corner of his eye. After a moment's thought, he cleared his throat. Cassandra, tomorrow's the weekend. Evelyn has already scheduled an appointment at the hospital. Tomorrow morning? Fine. Cassandra cut him off, nodding without hesitation. Evelyn told me. She'll have the car ready at 9. We'll go together. Okay. Liam nodded. The secret was finally about to be revealed. He glanced at her and added, Cassandra, tomorrow. Is there something else tomorrow? She asked, turning her head. I was just thinking, since we're already going to the hospital, we should get a full physical done. I've noticed you seem a little more tired than usual lately. Liam explained, a little sheepishly. Cassandra's eyes instantly lit up. You've been watching me? Well, of course. We live together. When your habits change, how could I not notice? Why? Why are you looking at me like that? Liam was being completely sincere, but Cassandra was staring at him with undisguised joy in her eyes. When their eyes met, Cassandra let out a proud little humph, turning her head away and crossing her arms. I knew you were just a stubborn guy with a soft heart. Her words were haughty, but the delight on her face was impossible to hide. Her proud little expression made it difficult for Liam to contain himself. But the secret was still unrevealed. For now, he had to suppress the urge. He stood up, inventing a clumsy excuse. Well, I'm going to go take a shower. We can talk after. Watching him practically flee into the bathroom, Cassandra couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. Soon, the sound of rushing water filled the room. There had never been a moment happier than this. That's what Cassandra thought. Through the frosted glass of the bathroom door, she could vaguely make out the dark silhouette of Liam moving inside. She instinctively placed a hand on her abdomen. The person she loved most in the world and their child were both here. Cassandra felt like she was bubbling over with happiness. She picked up her phone and asked Evelyn to have some food sent to the bedroom. The Manor chef was always prepared. The food only needed to be heated, so by the time Liam came out of the shower, a spread was already laid out on the table in the bedroom. I'm actually starving, Liam said, walking straight to the table, still wrapped in his bathrobe. Cassandra was already seated across from him. Seeing her pick up her utensils, Liam was a little confused. It's this late? You haven't had dinner either? Cassandra smiled. I was waiting for you to come home so we could eat together. You don't have to do that. You've been tired lately. You should eat when you're hungry. Don't wait for me, Liam said between bites. Cassandra just shook her head with a gentle smile. I can only eat peacefully when you're here. In an instant, Liam froze. Cassandra sat across from him, elegantly cutting her food. Her words were so simple, so casually delivered, yet they sent a wave of warmth through him. Once upon a time, he had dreamed of having someone wait for him to come home for dinner, but it had only ever been a fantasy. And now, this scene was playing out right before his eyes. Outside, the sky had darkened. The lights in the bedroom seemed to grow brighter, so bright that Liam felt a little dizzy, as if he were in a dream. Eat up, aren't you hungry? I'll cut this up. Let's trade. Seeing Liam dazed, Cassandra proactively switched her plate of neatly cut steak with the one in front of him. For a moment, Liam didn't know what to say. The thought that Cassandra would learn the truth tomorrow made him suddenly reluctant to reveal it. If only time could stop right here in this moment. The thought surfaced inexplicably, but he quickly shook his head. It was better to get it over with. The longer it dragged on, the more complicated it would become. If they could just get through tomorrow, everything would be fine. After dinner, they relaxed on the sofa for a while before going to bed. They had to be up early, after all. Cassandra fell asleep quickly, her arm wrapped around Liam's. Listening to her steady breathing, Liam took a deep breath and turned off the bedside lamp. The next morning, to prepare for the tests, Cassandra hadn't eaten breakfast. After getting ready, she and Liam were driven to the hospital. From a second-floor window, Haley and Riley, who had been up all night, watched the car pull away from the estate. In the driver's seat, Evelyn kept glancing at the rearview mirror, her expression tense and grim. Cassandra dozed off again on Liam's shoulder. By the time she woke up, the car had arrived at the hospital entrance. Because they had an appointment, there was no need to wait in line. Evelyn led Cassandra directly to the VIP obstetrics clinic while Liam waited on a bench outside. Before long, Evelyn came rushing out, her face pleading. Miss is done with her checkup. Dr. Lily is printing the report. Liam, the rest is up to you. Liam sighed, stood up, and pushed open the clinic door. He saw a female doctor with long, curly hair reaching for a report slowly emerging from a printer. Behind a half-drawn curtain, Cassandra was adjusting her clothes. Liam's heart was heavy as he tried to figure out how to explain everything to her. But in the next second, Dr. Lily's words, spoken in slightly accented English, made him freeze in place. Ms. Thorne, you are 1 month pregnant. Mr. Lynn, congratulations. You're going to be a father. What? Liam, who thought he already knew the result, was stunned. He stared blankly at the doctor with the long, curly hair, whose face was wreathed in a congratulatory smile. His mind went completely blank, a dull ringing in his ears. He instinctively turned to look at Cassandra. By now, Cassandra had finished getting dressed and was walking over. She had been too far away to hear the doctor's words, but now she saw Liam's expression, as if he'd been struck by lightning. She was confused. What's wrong? Why are you making that face? He was here for her checkup. Why'd he look so terrified? Liam's mouth opened, but no words came out. He whipped his head around to look at Evelyn, who was waiting outside the door. She was just as shocked as he was. Cassandra was really pregnant. This wasn't a lie. She was actually pregnant? Liam shot a desperate look at Evelyn, his eyes asking, "Is this doctor you found even reliable?" Evelyn caught his look and immediately understood. She shook her head slightly, her face still a mask of shock. Cassandra saw the silent exchange, and her expression soured. She cupped Liam's face in her hands, forcing him to look at her, her eyes boring into his. "What are you looking at? And why does Evelyn look so surprised? What are you hiding from me?" Liam's lips moved, but he didn't know what to say. This was not how he had imagined this going. He had heard Evelyn's explanation, and by their calculations, the pregnancy should have been at 2 months. Now it was 1. The timeline was off, but if she was really pregnant, she was pregnant. They were married now, with a license to prove it. There was nothing more to be said. Seeing Liam's silence, Cassandra's cold gaze fell on Evelyn. Her tone, no longer gentle as it was with Liam, dropped several degrees. "Evelyn, you tell me." Evelyn stammered, but the words wouldn't come. Liam immediately changed the subject. "Doctor, are there any special precautions we need to take? I'd like to know everything, now that my wife is pregnant." The word wife pulled Cassandra's attention back. She glanced at Evelyn, but decided not to press the issue for now. She took Liam's arm, and together they looked at the doctor. The doctor smiled and handed them a pamphlet titled "The Guide for Expectant Mothers." "All the important points are listed in here. You can read it carefully. Ms. Thorne is very healthy. Just come in for regular checkups according to the schedule inside." "Okay," Liam said, taking the booklet and squeezing Cassandra's hand. "Are we still doing the full physical?" Cassandra asked, her eyes darting between Liam and Evelyn. Let's do it," Liam said after a moment's thought. "Since you're pregnant now, a full physical would be a good idea, just to be safe." Cassandra nodded, saying nothing more. "If you're doing a full physical, remember to tell the doctor in charge that Ms. Thorne is pregnant. There are some tests that pregnant women can't have, Dr. Lily added. "Right," Liam nodded. He took Cassandra's hand. "All right, Cassandra, let's go get the test you can do. I'll wait for you outside." "Okay." Cassandra followed Evelyn out of the room. As the door to the examination room closed, Liam finally had a chance to talk to Evelyn alone. He couldn't hold it in any longer. "Seriously, are you playing with me? How was this playing with you? I didn't know she was really pregnant either." Evelyn shot back, then clutched her chest in relief. Thank God I only gave her something to induce vomiting. I didn't give her any other medication. Otherwise, this baby would have been in danger." Liam was speechless. "You're a doctor. How could you not tell if she was pregnant or not? How can you blame me? Miss was already having hormonal imbalances and irregular periods. Besides, if I did a test and she demanded to see the report, what was I supposed to do?" Evelyn looked utterly wronged. It wasn't just Liam who was shocked. She was too. She never imagined Cassandra was actually pregnant. But then, thinking about the timeline discrepancy, Evelyn sighed, and her tone softened. "All right, Liam, let's not argue. The important thing now is, how do we explain this to her? How do we tell her?" "We just tell her," Liam said, rolling his eyes, deciding not to press the issue. "But she's pregnant. I'm afraid if we tell her the news, she'll get emotional." Evelyn's voice trailed off. She was with Cassandra every day. She knew her temper better than anyone. Once Cassandra found out they had lied to her, for any reason, she would be furious. And Cassandra had once said they were the people she trusted most. To be deceived by the people you trust most. Even a normal person wouldn't be able to handle it, let alone Cassandra. Seeing Evelyn's worried face, Liam raised an eyebrow. "So what's the plan? You want to hide it from her until she figures it out herself?" Evelyn fell silent. She really didn't have a better idea. "What's there to hide? We just tell her." Cassandra isn't someone who gets angry that easily. Telling the truth is always better than weaving a web of lies to cover up the first one, Liam said calmly. Evelyn's face was pale, but she didn't say anything more. When Cassandra came out of the examination room, Evelyn went in to get the reports. As she passed, Cassandra shot her a cool glance, but didn't speak. "All done?" Liam asked, walking up to her. "Yeah." Cassandra rubbed her temples, looking tired. "Let's go home." Liam knew she was holding back her anger, waiting for his explanation. He nodded. "Okay." The car ride back to the Stanton estate was silent. It was noon by the time they arrived. The dining room was already set with a variety of dishes. Riley, Haley, Leo, and Chloe were all waiting in the main hall. Leo and Chloe looked impassive, but Riley and Haley were visibly anxious. Cassandra swept her gaze over them, but said nothing, heading straight for the bedroom. I'm going to change. Liam, you come with me. It was a command. Under the questioning gazes of the others, Liam followed her in. As the bedroom door closed, Cassandra walked to the sofa and sat down, her eyes fixed on him. She didn't speak. Liam knew she was waiting for him to start. He was ready. He sat down across from her and began. Cassandra, Evelyn and I did hide something from you. I'm going to tell you the whole story from beginning to end. I just hope you won't get too emotional. He chose to be direct. At the first part of his sentence, Cassandra's eyes darkened. But when he finished, she simply raised an eyebrow. Go on. Ever since he'd asked her how she would react to betrayal, Cassandra knew this day would come. Liam sighed and told her the truth. The pregnancy you thought you had would have been 2 months along by now, but you're actually only 1 month pregnant. Cassandra's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't seen the report herself. She only knew she was pregnant. But the timeline didn't seem to add up. It was Evelyn and Riley. They were afraid you'd get too emotional and do something foolish, so they made up the story about you being pregnant to deceive you. They meant well. So you knew about this all along. You brought me for a checkup today, just so you could tell me the truth. Cassandra's mind was sharp. As a smart woman, she understood immediately. Meeting her shocked gaze, Liam nodded. Yes, but that's not right, Cassandra said, a little dazed. At the time, based on the dates, it would have been that night we were drinking in Sydney. She trailed off, looking at him in surprise. Did nothing happen between us that night? The memory surfaced. Liam remembered the night Cassandra had gotten drunk and slapped herself. He smiled. You were completely wasted. How could I do anything to you? I'm not the kind of person who takes advantage of someone. So, Cassandra's mind was reeling. She stared at him, trying to recall what had happened a month ago. So the timing of this pregnancy. She bit her lip, feeling like her brain wasn't working properly. She couldn't remember being intimate with Liam recently. Based on the timeline, Liam reasoned, it must have been during those few days we were in Vegas. It made sense. It had been just over a month since he'd jumped into the ocean. He'd only spent a few days with Sylvia. The timeline for this pregnancy was a perfect fit. Seeing Cassandra still lost in thought, Liam couldn't help but smile. Cassandra, don't you think this is kind of funny? Cassandra blinked. That one day, I have to try and figure out what time my own wife got pregnant, Liam said with a laugh. After a moment of stunned silence, a smile spread across Cassandra's face. You know, you're right. I never thought I'd have to guess when I got pregnant myself. It is pretty funny. Her reaction told him she wasn't angry. Just as he'd thought, Cassandra wasn't an emotionally unstable person. It seemed that as long as he was there, he never saw her lose control. So you're not angry anymore? Liam asked with a smile. Cassandra was about to shake her head, but when she met his smiling eyes, a blush crept up her cheeks. She turned her head away. Why would I get angry over something like this? I'm not that petty, okay? Petty? He knew exactly how petty she could be. Chloe had barely touched his hand, and Cassandra's jealousy had been written all over her face. Knowing she was just being contrary, Liam didn't call her out on it. His voice softened. All right. In any case, you're a pregnant woman now, so your job is to rest and take care of yourself. I'll handle everything else. It was rare to hear such words from Liam. The blush on Cassandra's cheeks deepened, spreading to the tips of her ears. She stood up abruptly. I'm hungry. Take me to eat. Liam stood as well and walked to her side, offering his hand. All right, my dear CEO. Let's go. Cassandra let out a proud humph and placed her hand in his. When they opened the door, everyone outside looked over. Seeing Liam and Cassandra hand in hand, looking so close, Evelyn, Riley, and Haley let out a collective sigh of relief. Chloe and Leo said nothing, only standing when Liam invited them to eat. They all went to the dining room together. For once, everyone was there. At that moment, in the dining room of the Stanton estate, only the people Cassandra and Liam trusted most were present. If time could have frozen right there, it would have been perfect. However, just as they were about to eat, Evelyn spoke up, ready to report on the investigation Cassandra had requested. Miss, before she could finish, Cassandra cut her off. From now on, report everything to Liam. I don't want to be distracted by other things right now. This was something she and Liam had agreed upon. Trusting Liam was better than trusting anyone else. She now had 100% faith in him. Liam nodded, helping Cassandra with the food on her plate. We can talk after we eat. Evelyn nodded and sat back down. After the meal, Cassandra went to take a nap. Once she was settled, Liam went straight to the second floor. Evelyn was already waiting for him. That matter is in the past. We don't need to bring it up again, Liam said as soon as he walked in. Evelyn shook her head. I know. I figured that out when I saw you two come out together. But that's not what I was going to report to Miss. Liam was surprised. Then what is it? It's about Ethan. Evelyn pulled out her phone, brought up Ethan's file, and handed the phone to Liam. I used a lot of resources, but I can't find any information on Ethan's identity. His file is completely blank. Then he might be military, Liam suggested. Only people in that field would have blank files. But for even the Thorne family to find nothing, this person's background had to be significant. Hearing Liam's words, Evelyn shook her head, her face pale. No, I asked Mr. Thorne. Ethan is not from that world. This news was genuinely surprising. Even Caleb Thorne didn't know? Then this person was. Seeing Evelyn's pale face, Liam frowned. You already have a theory, don't you? Evelyn nodded, her brow furrowed. I have a guess, but it seems so unrealistic. It's fine. Tell me. Well, according to Mr. Thorne, if even the Thorne family can't find his background, and he's not military. She murmured, then looked at Liam, her tone hardening. Then the only possibility is that he's connected to the British royal family. The royal family? Liam was stunned. Although he'd had some power before, that was a world far removed from his own. He pictured Ethan's face. His every gesture did have a certain regal elegance. But Riley had said she met him in a video game, and that he'd even started his own esports team. Had the nobility become so progressive? Seeing Liam's shock, Evelyn's expression was grave. Liam, as far as I know, the Thorne family has business dealings with them. Now that this has happened, I'm afraid. Liam wasn't worried about that. From what he knew of the Thornes, a family that could dominate their own country wouldn't be afraid of British nobles. However, their relationship with Ethan was now strained, which could lead to business conflicts. Cassandra was pregnant now. She didn't need to hear about this kind of trouble. It was best to avoid it if possible. With that in mind, Liam said, we should still talk to Riley. Tell her not to leak the video of Penelope. After all, Ethan was in that video, too. But as he said it, he remembered the happy look on Riley's face in the car, tapping away on her phone, and he sighed. I'm afraid she's already sent it out. Evelyn was smart and caught his meaning immediately. She nodded. All right, let's go talk to Miss Riley now. Okay. Liam went with Evelyn to Riley's room. The moment they opened the door, Evelyn relayed Liam's message, but Riley looked troubled. Evelyn, you're too late. I already had Paige send the video out. What? Evelyn's eyes went wide. Where did you send it? To all the major media group chats. Paige isn't all of them, so it's everywhere. Riley scratched her head, confused. Penelope was so out of line. Spreading the video is a good way to take her down a peg, right? Oh my God. Miss Riley, you... Evelyn was too shocked to speak. In contrast to her surprise, Liam's expression was calm. Seeing Riley's confusion, he said evenly, if it's out, it's out. He glanced at Evelyn, who understood and didn't say any more. After leaving Riley's room, Evelyn silently pulled out her phone. Sure enough, the trending topic about Penelope was already up, tagged with a red hashtag, exploding hashtag icon in China. The view count had already surpassed 300 million, and the public discussion was still growing. Liam glanced down at her screen. In the comment threads, someone had already dug up Ethan's name. He couldn't help but marvel at the speed of modern netizens. After scrolling through a few comments, Evelyn's brow tightened. Liam, what do we do now? Liam didn't answer right away. He looked down, one hand on his chin, thinking, I seem to recall the Thorne family is the #1 family in the country, right? Yes. Evelyn nodded, a little confused. Liam smiled. Then why are you so afraid of the royal family? Different territories, but both were titans in their own right. I'm not afraid. It's just, I know the Thornes have business with them. Evelyn's words trailed off as she suddenly understood. She looked at Liam thoughtfully, seeming to grasp his meaning. Oh, right. The Thornes don't really have anything to fear from them. The realization dawned on her late. She subconsciously touched the back of her ear. I was thinking like a commoner. I forgot we're with the Thornes. Liam couldn't help but laugh. Evelyn's reaction was the same as his had been. As a normal person, he'd also felt a jolt of alarm at the word royal. But after thinking it through, it wasn't a big deal. He had already come to a conclusion. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't think they'll go out of their way to cause trouble. They'll probably want to arrange a meeting with us first. Liam's face was calm. It was clear he had fully adapted to this new life. Hearing him say this, the knot of worry in Evelyn's stomach loosened. Okay then, I'll leave this matter to you, Liam. Liam nodded. All right, let's not mention this to Cassandra for now. I'll call Mr. Thorne later. At the words Mr. Thorne, Evelyn's eyes shot up. She glanced at Liam, a small smile playing on her lips. Okay, I'll send you his number. You can video call him directly. Thanks. Liam's guess was correct. In the UK, Lord Charles, Ethan's maternal grandfather, had just returned from a noble banquet. His face was dark. The banquet had been different from a usual fawning and flattery. It had been tainted by the scandal involving his grandson. Ethan's identity had been exposed, and his face was now a collection of memes circulating on every major social media platform in China. In the age of instant information, a ripple on one side of the world quickly becomes a wave on the other. He immediately summoned his eldest daughter, Ethan's mother, Natalie. What is the meaning of this? The moment she entered the room and saw the memes of Ethan's face on her father's phone, Natalie understood everything. She trembled. "Father, I was just about to speak with you about this. Someone is deliberately targeting Ethan." She pulled out her own phone and played the video for Charles. Ethan was only protecting a friend. If you watch this video, it's clear the other party was provoking him. For the royal family, money was no longer the primary concern. What mattered most was status and reputation. Natalie knew her father's rage would be immense, and that it would fall on Ethan. That's why she had been holding back, trying to come up with a solution. Seeing Charles staring intently at the screen, Natalie quickly added, "I don't know why this blew up so much in China. It's a nation of opportunists. They are deliberately slandering us. I'm already looking for a solution. Father, rest assured I've looked into it. The person behind this is the man in the video, this Liam. I will find him and have a proper chat with him." She gritted her teeth, making a vow to her father. However, when the video's frame shifted to show Liam's profile, Charles's eyes suddenly went wide. "You said the young man's name is Liam?" Lord Charles's eyebrow twitched. The anger seemed to have mostly evaporated from his face, replaced by a thoughtful, almost distant expression. "Yes," Natalie nodded. "I've already looked into it. His name is Liam. The girl Ethan was protecting is Penelope Hamilton." Who Penelope Hamilton was didn't seem to matter. It was Liam who had captured Lord Charles's attention. "Do you have a clear photo of him?" he asked. Natalie paused, then tapped through her phone, running a quick search. Liam was a bona fide internet celebrity now. The sensational story of the mysterious heiress publicly chasing him, followed by his outrageously arrogant live streams, meant his name and picture were everywhere. The strange magic of the internet had even compiled a full profile, complete with his date of birth. She pulled up the page and handed the phone to her father. Charles took it, pinching the gold-rimmed monocle to his eye and examining the screen carefully. Name, Liam Linsex. Male date of birth, 1998. Month/day, unknown noteworthy history. Former heir of the Hamilton family, later disowned. Worked as a security guard for Zenith Corp to make ends meet before being recognized and taken in by the Landon family. Held an engagement ceremony in Las Vegas with the heiress of the Shaw Pharma dynasty, which he publicly fled. Subsequently started a live stream from abroad while being openly pursued online by a mysterious heiress, pursuit allegedly rejected. Later reconciled with the Shaw heiress in Las Vegas, causing a 3-hour citywide traffic jam by throwing cash from a parade of luxury cars. Last seen in the UK. Current residence, unknown. A life story like that was explosive, no matter how you looked at it. People from families like theirs prize their reputation above all else. After gaining wealth and fame, they would go to any lengths to erase a sordid past. But Liam, who was clearly now very rich, had done nothing of the sort. He was the only high society scion who was freely judged and dissected by the entire internet. Natalie couldn't help but interject. "Father, this young man is a degenerate. Look at his profile, the number of women he's entangled with. He was obviously targeting Ethan on purpose." Charles didn't speak. His gaze drifted to the profile picture on the left side of the screen. It was a still from one of Liam's live streams, a shot of him on the deck of a ship, laughing with wild abandon, arms thrown open to the sky. A strange feeling washed over him. Liam looked incredibly familiar, as if he'd seen him somewhere before. He lowered his monocle and looked at his fuming daughter. "Inform this young man that I want to see him tomorrow." Natalie's eyes went wide, as if she'd just heard the most staggering news. "Father, you want to see him?" "Yes," Charles nodded. "Arrange it as soon as possible. Have Becca adjust my schedule." Natalie swallowed hard, staring at her father in disbelief. He was changing his own schedule just to meet this boy. But Charles was not a man who repeated himself. Shocked as she was, she forced a nod. "Don't publicize this," Charles added. "I will see him in private tomorrow." The thought of a private meeting sent a jolt of panic through Natalie. "Father, perhaps we should have a few other people present. Otherwise—" "Fine. You arrange it," Charles nodded, his eyes already drifting back to the photo of Liam. Seeing that, Natalie didn't dare ask for her phone back. She could only turn, her face pale, and go make the arrangements. The Stanton estate returning to the bedroom. Liam saw Cassandra sleeping soundly. He gently walked over and tucked the covers around her. Without waking her, he went straight to the study. Following the contact information Evelyn had given him, he called Caleb Thorne. The phone barely rang twice before it was picked up, as if Caleb had been waiting for the call. "Mr. Thorne, good afternoon," Liam said respectfully. On the other end, Liam heard not only Caleb's voice, but also the light laugh of Catherine Thorne. "What's this? You only greet your Uncle Caleb? What about me, Liam? You had us all worried sick, you know." "Mrs. Thorne, you're there too." Liam scratched his head, a little embarrassed. He hadn't expected her to be on the line. "Of course I am. I've been telling your uncle to fire up the jet and fly me over to see you too. How's Cassandra?" Catherine's infectious laugh carried clearly through the phone. Unsure if they knew about the pregnancy or the marriage license, Liam didn't bring it up, offering only a brief update. "Cassandra's taking a nap." "Oh, good, good," Catherine said. Her voice was suddenly muffled. "You old man, I'm not done talking to Liam. Why are you pushing me? We have business to discuss, Catherine. Don't be impatient." Caleb's voice came through, laced with affection. Fine, take it. You snatched the phone from me today. I'm putting this on my list." "Your list is already a mile long. You're adding this to, you bullied me, so of course I'm writing it down." You two can talk. I'm going shopping with the girls." The sound of their bickering flowed through the line. Liam couldn't help but feel a little helpless, getting a dose of their lovey-dovey energy, even over the phone. Parents with a bond that strong were rare. In that moment, he felt a pang of envy. After the sound of high heels clicking away faded, Caleb cleared his throat. "Liam, are you still there?" Yes, I'm here, Mr. Thorne," Liam replied quickly. Caleb sounded slightly embarrassed. "Right. Well, your aunt is. She's just like that. You'll get used to it." "It's no problem at all," Liam said quickly, making a mental note. No matter what, always side with the wife. "Good. Let's get down to business." Caleb's tone grew serious. "Lord Charles has already contacted me. He said he wants to meet with you tomorrow. It's likely about his grandson." He didn't use names, but Liam understood perfectly. "Lord Charles? So Ethan really is royalty?" "Yes. Charles is Louis III, Caleb explained briefly, then added with a reassuring laugh. "But don't you worry. The Thorne family does business with him. I've already told them you're the Thornes' future son-in-law. They won't dare target you directly." The blatant protectiveness was stated loud and clear. Touched, Liam also realized something else. Caleb and Catherine still didn't know he and Cassandra had a marriage license. He and Cassandra were a unit now. If she hadn't told her parents, he certainly wouldn't be the one to spill the beans. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne," he said gratefully. Caleb nodded. "Of course. I've already given them your address. They'll send a car tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Be ready." Since Caleb had spoken, Liam knew there was no getting out of it. He had already guessed a meeting was inevitable. "Okay, I understand," he agreed. After hanging up, he used the quiet afternoon to catch up on his schoolwork. Though his course load wasn't heavy, his years of self-discipline made it easy to slip back into a study mindset. When Cassandra woke from her nap, she didn't see Liam. Unlike the panic she used to feel when he wasn't around, she now felt a deep sense of security that he had cultivated over the past few days. The anxiety was gone. The first 3 months of pregnancy were the most critical. Gazing at the perfect afternoon sunlight streaming through the window, she gently stroked her belly, a soft smile touching her lips. Though she had accepted the reality of her pregnancy long ago, confirming it again with Liam still felt surreal. Not being able to walk down the aisle with him remained a lingering regret, a shadow in her heart. She got out of bed and left the bedroom, spotting Evelyn sitting in the main hall. As if she already knew what Cassandra was going to ask, Evelyn spoke first. "Ma'am, Mr. Lynn is in the study." "Okay." Cassandra nodded and walked toward the study. The door was ajar. Standing before it, she peered through the crack and saw him. Liam was sitting at the desk, his body mostly obscured by a laptop, but she could see his fingers flying across the keyboard. The sight of him, so utterly focused, made her eyes light up. She had rarely seen him look so concentrated. In that moment, it was as if the rest of the world had melted away. It was true what they said. A man was most handsome when he was serious. She found herself mesmerized, watching from the doorway. Deep in his work, Liam felt a burning gaze on him. He pulled his attention from the screen and looked toward the door. There stood Cassandra, ramrod straight, her eyes fixed on him with fiery intensity. A jolt went through him. He quickly stood up and smiled. "Cassandra, you're awake?" His sudden voice startled her. She blinked and nodded dumbly. "MMM." She was about to say, "Go on with your work, don't mind me," but before the words could leave her lips, she saw him get up and walk straight toward her. He pulled the door open, gesturing for her to come inside with a hint of reproach. "Why didn't you call me? Come in and sit. What are you doing just standing there like that?" The words were a mild scolding, but the concern in them was unmistakable. Cassandra's cheeks flushed. She lifted her chin proudly and stepped into the room. I just saw you were working so hard. I didn't want to bother you. It seemed the pregnancy had sanded down her sharpest edges, leaving only a proud, almost cute stubbornness. And to Liam, that stubbornness was utterly adorable. It's fine. When it's you, you could never bother me, he said, following her in and closing the door. His words made her heart soar, but she kept her tone firm. No, I know better than anyone how annoying it is to be interrupted when you're focused. I don't want you to get annoyed with me. She didn't know when it had started, but she was now considering him in every little detail. The change in her was immense, so much so that it surprised even Liam. And there was no doubt about it. He was the cause of it all. He saw the effort she was making. How could he ever be annoyed with her? Don't worry about it, Liam said, coming up beside her and helping her to the sofa. Already told you, right? As long as it's you, I'll never be annoyed. Sinking into the soft cushions, Cassandra looked up and met his sincere eyes. Her heart fluttered. Her cheeks felt hot, like she had a fever, the blush spreading from her face to the tips of her ears. She pressed her lips together, rubbing her earlobe to cool down as she changed the subject. You should get back to work. We could talk after you're finished. Okay, you're pregnant. You need a rest. I'll have Evelyn prepare some afternoon tea for you, Liam said. He pulled a small blanket from nearby and gently draped it over her before heading out. Staring at his back, Cassandra's gaze grew heavy. She had been cooped up for so long that her thoughts had become insular. But after going out today, she felt a sudden moment of clarity. Liam was truly different now. He was no longer the man who was always thinking about escape. He was starting to love her, but that love left her feeling insecure. This change in him felt off. Was it just because she was pregnant? From the moment she'd found him and used the pregnancy as a pretext to bind him to her side, they had gotten married, and he had been attending to her every need with extreme thoughtfulness. But she had overlooked one crucial point. Did he love her, or did he love their child? He still had amnesia. If he ever remembered everything, their past, the cruel ways she had tormented him, would he still love her like this to the bone? The thought was so terrifying that Cassandra couldn't bear to follow it. She couldn't be sure if he would ever forgive her past willfulness. All she could do now was give him her absolute best. Just then, Liam came back in, a wide smile on his face. I've already spoken with Evelyn. She'll bring the tea shortly. You just sit here for a bit. Call me if you need anything. Cassandra's heart skipped a beat. She nodded instinctively. MMM. She watched as he returned to the desk and resumed his work, her eyes losing focus. The afternoon quiet was so beautiful. The sound of the wind outside mixed with the warm sunlight pouring into the room. Under the small blanket, a cozy warmth enveloped her. It felt as if it was Liam's own body heat rising around her. She gazed at the serious man, thinking for a moment that she wished time could just stop right here. Ma'am, Mr. Lynn, afternoon tea is ready. Evelyn's voice came from outside the study. Liam answered, and Evelyn pushed the door open, followed by several maids. They set up a small table right in front of Cassandra and placed an array of exquisite pastries and teas upon it. Seeing that Liam had stopped his work, Cassandra suggested, Want to take a little break? Sure, Liam agreed. He had finished the most important parts, and the rest wasn't urgent. He got up and sat down across from her. Cassandra had already picked up a slice of mousse cake. She pinched the fork, cut off a small piece, and right there in front of Evelyn and the maids, held it to Liam's lips with a soft, doting smile. Open up. Let me feed you. Evelyn had seen it all by now, and so had the other maids. They were accustomed to such scenes. But this was the first time since they'd arrived that Cassandra had been so forward. Evelyn felt her mind go numb. Liam was surprised, too. Had that nap scrambled Cassandra's brain? She was pregnant herself. Why was she trying to feed him? That wasn't right. He quickly took her wrist. I should be the one feeding you. You sit still, I'll do it. Cassandra shook her head stubbornly. No, you always fed me before. I want to feed you for once. Let me do it this time. Liam was speechless. He glanced instinctively at Evelyn. Letting his pregnant wife feed him, especially in front of so many people, was clearly over the top. He wanted to explain. This was all your lady's idea. I didn't force her. But Evelyn simply rolled her eyes toward the heavens, while the other maids wore knowing, fond smiles. Liam suddenly realized he didn't need to explain anything to them. All right, then. You can feed me, he relented, opening his mouth. Cassandra brought the fork to his lips, placing the small piece of cake inside. She even remembered to gently wipe the corner of his mouth, smiling as she asked, Is it good? MMM. Liam nodded while chewing. Then try this one. It's mango. I still don't know what flavors you like. Exceptionally excited, Cassandra picked up another piece of cake and forked a small bite. Seeing the two of them being so sweet, Evelyn felt a wave of secondhand embarrassment. She scratched her head and waved a hand, signaling for the maids to leave. They got the hint, placing the rest of the items down and filing out. Evelyn followed, pulling the door shut behind her. The moment the door closed, she saw P11.She running down the stairs, a furious look on her face, with a frantic Leo trailing behind her. "Miss Xia, what's going on?" Evelyn asked, puzzled. Chloe stopped in front of Evelyn, planting her hands on her hips and pointing at Leo. "Evelyn, you be the judge. I just want one ice cream bar, and Leo refuses to let me have it. Isn't he being cheap?" Evelyn blinked, looking instinctively at Leo, her eyes seeming to say, "An ice cream bar costs next to nothing. You're not really that stingy, are you?" Leo, who had rushed down, was also flustered and out of breath. "I swear to God, when have I ever denied you ice cream? You haven't been feeling well these past few days. Can you really eat that?" Evelyn turned her head to Chloe. "Miss Xia, you're not feeling well?" Chloe's face turned red. "No, I'm not. I'm perfectly healthy." Beside her, Leo grew anxious. He pulled out his phone and pointed to a date in his notes app. "Healthy? Look for yourself. I've been keeping track. Your period started yesterday. How can you eat something so cold right now? Why are you tracking it so closely? I don't even remember the date." Chloe's fiery demeanor instantly deflated, a hint of embarrassment creeping into her voice. Leo, who had been so articulate a moment ago, now just stammered at a loss for words. Evelyn fell silent. Great. More public displays of affection. The two in the study were still sweetly feeding each other cake. She thought she'd escaped by slipping out, only to get another face full of lovey-dovey nonsense in the living room. Evelyn sighed inaudibly. "Miss Xia, you really shouldn't eat cold things right now," she advised. "I'll give Mr. Lee a packet of raspberry leaf tea to brew for you later." "That would be great. Thank you, Miss Evelyn." Leo's face lit up with gratitude. Chloe pouted, gave Leo a long look, then turned and trudged back up the stairs. Evelyn sighed again, resigning herself to her fate as she led Leo to get the tea. The afternoon passed quickly. To prepare for the next day's meeting, Liam had taken the day off from school. After dinner, he and Cassandra retired to the bedroom. The next morning at 8 o'clock, Liam was up. After washing up and grabbing a quick bite, he found a car sent by the royal family was already waiting outside. Without telling Cassandra he wasn't going to class, he grabbed his backpack and walked out of the estate, putting on a good show. To his surprise, a well-dressed, blonde noblewoman was sitting in the front passenger seat. From her features, she looked to be of mixed heritage. The moment the car started moving, she spoke directly. "You're Liam Lin." It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Liam nodded, surprised that the royal family would send a woman of her standing to pick him up. The woman turned, her cold, sharp gaze sweeping over him, radiating hostility. "I won't let you get away with framing my son." "Your son?" Liam paused, then immediately understood. She was talking about Ethan, which made her his mother. Natalie said nothing more, but she kept flicking her sharp gaze to the rearview mirror, as if trying to intimidate him with looks alone. Liam, however, simply raised an eyebrow. "Your son's business has nothing to do with me. He was the one who jumped in to defend that girl. I'd be more concerned with advising your son on the company he keeps." "What did you just say?" Natalie snapped, her anger flaring. "Exactly what it sounds like," Liam said, leaning back against the leather seat with his hands behind his head. "I'm saying your son has terrible judgment." The audacity was breathtaking. Natalie couldn't believe this young man would be so brazen as to talk back to her directly. But her refined upbringing forced her to suppress her rage. "Annoying me will have consequences you can't afford. You're young. You shouldn't speak so bluntly. I am, at the very least, your elder." She thought this would quell his arrogance, but she had underestimated him. Liam was brutally direct. "You just accused me of framing your son. That makes us enemies. Why would I recognize an enemy as an elder?" "You." Natalie was seething, pointing a trembling finger at him, on the verge of losing her composure. Seeing the royal residence approaching, she swallowed her anger. She glanced at the estate just outside the window, grit her teeth, and fell silent. She was a woman of quality. She wouldn't lower herself to his level. Besides, once her father got a hold of the young man this insolent, he would surely be furious. She wouldn't even have to lift a finger. The car stopped in the courtyard of the royal residence. Liam's eyes narrowed as a servant opened the door for him. Natalie didn't even get out of the car. She simply gestured to the servant and commanded, "Take him to the study." Lord Charles had been up for a while, but he was in no hurry to meet Liam in the study. Instead, he sat in his room, watching the security feed a servant had handed him on a tablet. On the screen, Liam was following several servants down a long corridor, heading toward the study. Charles tapped the screen a few times, zooming in until Liam's face filled the frame. It was a much clearer image than the photos online. That face was undeniably familiar. The eyes, the brow. It was as if a memory had been superimposed over the image. They were a perfect match. Charles watched Liam enter the study and sit on the sofa. Unable to wait any longer, he stood up abruptly. "To the study," he commanded, rising and leading his own attendants toward the room. The royal residence was built on a different scale. Even a study was nearly 700 square feet. Liam had been impressed by the estate's opulence from the outside, but seeing it from within was still staggering. The study was empty for now. The servant who had led him and served him a cup of tea and then departed, leaving Liam alone in the vast room. He was meeting a monarch. After all, a little waiting was to be expected. As Liam looked around, the doors opened. 2 guards entered, followed by the man Caleb Thorne had called the King of England, Lord Charles. Liam stood up. Charles walked directly to a high-backed chair across from the sofa and sat down, his deep-set but sharp eyes locking onto Liam. Liam didn't speak. He stood straight, meeting the man's gaze without a trace of fear. After a long moment of silence, Charles waved a hand, dismissing the guards at the door and leaving only 2 servants to attend them. He studied Liam, his expression unreadable. "You are Liam Lynn." "I am," Liam answered, his tone level. He didn't bow or kneel. As a citizen of his own country, he felt no need to adhere to foreign customs. Charles didn't seem to mind. He gestured for Liam to sit. Seeing him this close, the resemblance was even more striking. Liam's features perfectly overlapped with someone from his memories. When Charles remained silent, Liam frowned. He had initially assumed they were summoning him to hold him accountable for something, especially after the verbal assault he'd received from Ethan's mother on the way here. But now, seeing Charles in person, it didn't feel like that. There was no hostility in a man's gaze. Still, Charles didn't speak, and Liam didn't know what to say. The backing of the Thorne family gave him more than enough confidence. He felt no fear, even in the heavy silence. Finally, Charles spoke. "I hear you're a student again? At Oxford?" "Yes. I feel like I wasted a lot of time before, so I wanted to experience school again," Liam answered honestly. Charles's eyes flickered. "At your age, it's not easy to return to academia." He paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. "I've seen your entrance exam scores. Very impressive." "I had a solid foundation," Liam replied simply. But anyone with experience knew that returning to school after entering the workforce was harder than climbing a mountain, especially at a prestigious university like Oxford, which you couldn't just buy your way into. Liam's talent in economics couldn't be dismissed with a single sentence. Charles sized up the young man before him. His rebellious history, as detailed in the file, bore a strange resemblance to his own youth. He couldn't help but ask, "I heard you were the Hamiltons' adopted son. Do you know who your biological parents are?" Liam paused. Why was he so interested in his family? But this was a monarch, and he didn't seem hostile. The identity of his birth parents wasn't a secret anymore, so there was nothing to hide. "I don't know the specifics," Liam said directly. "I was only told that my birth father was Victor Lynn and my birth mother is P11.She. My father died in the line of duty years ago, and my mother is currently in a nursing home." "Ah," Charles nodded thoughtfully. He didn't recognize any of the names. He stared intently at Liam, as if trying to read something on his face, but after a long moment, he found nothing. He pressed on. "Do you have photos of your birth parents?" Liam had thought this was about Ethan, but Charles's persistent questions about his parents made his eyes darken. "I'm sorry. I was lost when I was young. I don't know them well. Other than P11.She, he had only seen a photo of his birth father once, when Caleb had shown him. It was a fleeting glimpse he couldn't possibly recall." "I see." Charles frowned. He glanced at Liam again, feeling a strange connection to him, an inexplicable sense of kinship. But with no leads, he could only change the subject. "There's a business gala in 5 days. I expect you to clear your schedule and attend." It was a command, not a request. The 2 servants standing by the wall shot Liam envious looks. But Liam didn't appreciate the tone. If it were Caleb Thorne, his father-in-law, he would have yielded. But he and Charles were complete strangers. Why should he obey? Without hesitation, Liam refused. "Thank you for the kind offer, but I'll have to pass." The 2 servants stared in utter shock. An invitation to a royal gala was an incredible honor. It was a golden opportunity to network with ministers and business magnates. And this young man was just turning it down. Liam stood up. "I've been quite busy lately. I won't be able to attend any galas." Charles, too, was surprised. In all his years, Liam was the first person to dare refuse him so bluntly. The young man's reputation for arrogance was well earned. Having not mentioned Ethan at all, Liam decided to bring it up himself. Regarding Mr. Vance, it was not my intention to target him. I hope you will look into the matter carefully. Charles's eyes glinted. His intuition told him there was more to this young man than met the eye. The resemblance was too strong, too much like his long-lost love. It was uncanny. Seeing that Charles had fallen silent again, Liam saw no reason to stay. He had come to discuss Ethan, and he could now see that Charles held no malice toward him. That was all he needed to know. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave, Liam said, rising to his feet without waiting for permission. The two servants could only watch, dumbfounded. The young man was so audacious, yet their monarch wasn't the least bit angry. As Liam left, Charles immediately gave an order. Go over the area where he was sitting, find his DNA. The servants, though puzzled, had no choice but to obey. Leaving the study, Liam ran straight into a late-arriving Natalie. Just like before, she wore an expression of haughty disdain as she stared him down. Liam couldn't be bothered. He was about to walk past her when her sharp voice cut through the air. Stop. Did my father give you permission to leave? Liam shrugged. What do you think? Natalie's eyes widened. She couldn't believe the meeting had ended so quickly. Staring at Liam, her expression darkened. Then go. Liam's mouth twitched. He turned away, speechless. For a moment, he wondered if everyone in the royal family was a little unhinged. He took the elevator down. The moment the doors opened, he saw Ethan standing right outside. From Ethan's dark expression, it was clear his mood was at rock bottom. Liam couldn't resist a jab. Well, if it isn't Mr. Vance. Fancy meeting you here. Ethan shot Liam a hateful glare, his voice turning grim. Come with me. I have something to say to you. Noting the servants milling about, Liam figured Ethan wouldn't dare try anything physical here. He raised an eyebrow and followed him into a small alcove next to the elevators. Whatever you have to say, just say it. But if it's about an apology, don't bother wasting your breath, Liam said, preempting Ethan's intentions, or at least part of them. Seeing Liam's brazen expression, Ethan's anger surged. I never thought there could be someone as shameless as you in this world. You have both of the Thorne sisters wrapped around your finger. You're really something else. Thanks for the compliment, Liam chuckled, but his tone shifted in the next second. But what I do with anyone else is none of your business. Stop meddling. You got time to waste. You should go get your eyes checked. The words were venomous, a verbal slap across the face. Ethan's temper flared. He grabbed the front of Liam's shirt. Don't think you can fool me just because you've charmed them. A person like you will end up in hell. Ethan was about the same height and build as Liam, which significantly weakened the intimidation factor. Confident Ethan wouldn't dare do anything more, Liam didn't flinch. He just looked down at the furious young man with a smirk. Don't be so dramatic, kid. Going to hell? He almost laughed out loud. Ethan had never met anyone so shameless. The man's skin was thicker than a castle wall. He felt like he'd thrown a haymaker only to have it sink into a pile of cotton. Just as Liam predicted, all his fury amounted to nothing more than a war of words. He shoved Liam away, his face burning with rage. My lawyers will be here shortly. We're going to have a long talk about you violating my image rights. Liam paused. Image rights. His feigned ignorance was like pouring gasoline on the fire. Don't play dumb with me. You spread my video everywhere. This isn't going to be over that easily. If I don't sue you in a bankruptcy, my name isn't Vance. Is that so? Liam smiled. So that's why you're so angry. It's because of that. Of course it is. Ethan raged, pointing a finger at Liam. If you hadn't spread my video, how would my family have found out I started an esports team? He had blurted it out in a fit of pique, but he quickly caught himself and shut his mouth. Even so, Liam understood. Ethan had started his gaming team in secret. That explained everything. When Evelyn first suggested Ethan might be royalty, Liam had found it odd. Why would a member of a prestigious noble family get involved in something so lowbrow? Even with the gaming industry booming, aristocrats cared about reputation. They didn't need the money, especially not the royal family. No wonder Ethan was so hostile. His secret was out, and he'd probably been chewed out by his entire family. Thinking about it, Liam almost felt a little sorry for him. Not hearing Liam speak, Ethan looked up and met his gaze, which was filled with something resembling pity. It made him furious. Wipe that pathetic look off your face. It's disgusting. All right, Liam's lip twitched. He reached out and patted Ethan's shoulder. It was an ordinary gesture, but combined with his sympathetic expression, the insult was devastating. It was like grinding Ethan's pride into the dirt. Ethan's face turned beet red. You just wait. My lawyers are on their way. Are they? Liam's smile widened. He clicked his tongue, completely unconcerned. You can sue if you want. He paused, his smirk growing wider. But if you're suing me for violating your image rights, you'll probably have to sue Riley too. Ethan frowned. What are you talking about? I wasn't the one who spread your video far and wide. Liam said, holding up his hands. That had nothing to do with me. The person who made that video go viral was Riley Thorne. I was at most an accomplice. The main culprit is her. You're trying to drag Riley into this? You son of a bitch, and you have the nerve to be your brother-in-law. No, Mr. Vance. I think you have it backwards, Liam said, his voice dripping with smug satisfaction. As Riley's brother-in-law, if you want to marry her, shouldn't you be trying to get on my good side? You're despicable. Ethan seethed. His good breeding prevented him from spitting out a single curse word, despite his rage. Liam's face was the very picture of a gloating villain. The sight of it infuriated Ethan, but his inability to find the right words to curse him out only made it worse. He looked like he was about to pass out. Hearing movement from the nearby elevator, as if someone was coming down, Ethan swallowed his anger. He glared at Liam and sneered. This isn't over. Brother-in-law? I'll make sure you lose that title. He threw out the threat and stormed off. Liam couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on him. He and Cassandra had a marriage license now. No one could separate them. However, Ethan's reminder did spark a thought. It was time to talk to Cassandra about finding the right moment to tell Caleb and Catherine about their marriage and to bring Carol Xia over as well. It was time for their union to be known to the world. Liam returned to the Stanton estate just in time for lunch. The dining room table was already laden with all sorts of delicacies. Since it was a Monday, Liam normally wouldn't be home for lunch, so Cassandra hadn't waited for him. She had just started eating when she saw him walk in, a look of surprise on her face. You don't have class today? Liam's eyes flickered. Something came up, so I didn't go. Oh, Cassandra replied. She didn't ask what he was busy with, simply pointing to the chair beside her. Then sit down and eat. The food just came out. This reaction was completely out of character for her. As he sat down, Liam couldn't help but ask, Aren't you curious about what I was doing? Cassandra tilted her head, her gaze meeting his. Didn't I say it before? You're in charge of everything. You'll tell me when you want to. It was a statement of absolute, unconditional trust. A warmth spread through Liam's chest. He smiled. Well, in that case, there's actually something I must discuss with you. Cassandra held her teacup and took a small sip. Go on. It's about our marriage license, Liam said, turning his head to meet her eyes. I spoke with your father yesterday. It seems they still don't know we're officially married. The implication was clear. Cassandra understood. Her eyes flickered. I haven't told him about it. Although he had already guessed as much, Liam was still curious. Why? Cassandra had always been one to wear her heart on her sleeve. It was strange that she would keep this from her parents, choosing instead to marry him in private. Seeing the confusion on his face, Cassandra bit her lip, her hand resting on her stomach. It was because of my grandparents. Liam paused. What about them? For the first time, a hint of embarrassment crossed Cassandra's face. She turned to him, her expression serious. Back then, when they heard I was planning a wedding with you, they were furious. At the time, she had been so consumed by her obsession with marrying him that she hadn't considered anyone else's feelings. It was only after the ceremony that her mother, Catherine, had privately told her that her grandparents had refused to attend, because, to them, such a wedding was deeply unlucky. She didn't explain the details, but Liam understood. He knew about that wedding. He'd heard Chloe and Leo describe it in vivid detail. It had been an unprecedentedly grand affair, attended by all the major figures in New York's high society. And the groom Cassandra was marrying was a statue of him. That Cassandra's own parents had agreed to such a wedding was surprising enough. But it was obvious that the older generation would never approve, especially when it was their own granddaughter, marrying a dead man. Liam instinctively glanced at Cassandra's stomach, where her slender, fine-boned hand rested. He thought, if his own child wanted to marry a dead person in the future, he'd probably faint from anger. I should apologize to them, Liam said softly after a long silence, his voice filled with regret. Why should you apologize? It had nothing to do with you. Cassandra looked at him, confused. Marrying you back then was my own one-sided obsession. I never got your consent. If anyone should be apologizing, it's me. Liam was stunned. He stared at Cassandra, utterly speechless. He never thought he would hear such words from her. His eyes widened, his intense gaze making her feel a little uncomfortable. Why are you looking at me like that? It's just the truth. She mumbled, her voice trailing off. Perhaps it was because she was becoming a mother, but there was a newfound gentleness radiating from her. It was a tenderness that made Liam's heart melt. Cassandra, he whispered her name, unable to help himself, just staring at her. His gaze made her skin tingle. Her cheeks flushed as she stammered, I think we need to have another wedding. What do you think? Liam said directly, his eyes incredibly serious. Cassandra's brow arched. She remembered what he'd said at the courthouse and couldn't help but pout. Oomph. I wonder who it was that said we didn't need another one. What? Changing your mind now? Before. I wasn't thinking clearly. Liam's eyes darkened, a wry smile playing on his lips. And besides, I never expected that I would actually fall in love with you. Boom. A string in Cassandra's mind snapped. She stared at him, her eyes shining with an undeniable excitement. She leaned forward eagerly, her face suddenly close to his. What? What did you just say? Say it again. Seeing her excitement, Liam couldn't help but chuckle. He patiently repeated himself. I said I never expected that I would actually fall in love with you. Before he could finish, a warm sensation pressed against his cheek. Moi. Cassandra had planted a quick, firm kiss on his face. In the stunned silence that followed, he heard her, face blushing, in a voice that was both shy and proud, murmur, I like you too. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. If Liam hadn't been sitting right across from her, he wouldn't have heard it. So much had happened between them. Yet to this day, they were still like a young couple. Any heartfelt confession could make her blush and her heart race. Her adorable, proud demeanor made Liam want to grab her head and pull her into a fierce embrace. No. This wasn't the time for that. How could he have such dirty thoughts? Liam shook his head, quickly changing the subject. So, that's what I wanted to discuss with you. We'll pick a good time and have another wedding. We'll invite both our families. What do you think? The blush on Cassandra's face hadn't faded. She gently pressed her stomach and frowned. We can, but I'm not even a month along. Didn't the doctor say the first 3 months are the most critical? I know, Liam replied. That's my point. You focus on resting and taking care of yourself during this time. I'll handle everything else. Once things are stable, we'll invite our parents over. Okay. Cassandra nodded repeatedly, her lips curling into a smile. She added excitedly, then we'll be having a shotgun wedding. Exactly. That's what I mean. I'll plan the whole wedding this time. You just rest at home and don't worry about a thing. Okay, so about our marriage license. Should we tell your parents? Liam asked, remembering the matter. Let's not tell them for now, Cassandra said after a moment's thought. Since we're going to have another wedding, let's wait until a few days before. When we invite them, we can give them all the good news at once. That I'm pregnant and we're already married. That works. They'll be so happy. Liam smiled and nodded, agreeing with her plan. The matter was settled. After consulting with Evelyn, she advised that after the first trimester, the wedding shouldn't be held too late in the pregnancy. 5 months along would be the ideal time. Liam did a quick calculation. It was mid-September now. 5 months from now would be January of next year. The end of January was a joyous time of celebration. In the new year, he and Cassandra would get married with a child on the way, a double dose of happiness. What could be more romantic? In that instant, Liam felt like his life had a renewed sense of purpose. Let's hurry up and eat. You can join me for a workout later, Cassandra said, her excitement palpable now that everything was decided. Liam frowned. Cassandra, you're in a delicate state right now. Maybe we should put the workouts on hold. She was instantly displeased. No way. Working out is part of my daily routine. If I skip a day, I feel awful. And am I supposed to just lie in bed all day? Do you want me to get fat? How could you be fat? I'll love you no matter what you look like. Oomph. Such a smooth talker, Cassandra huffed, then threatened playfully. I'm only getting fat because I'm pregnant. If you dare to not like it, I'll cut off your head and use it as a soccer ball. Yikes. Now that sounded more like the domineering woman he knew. Liam shivered, an image of his head rolling around on the ground flashing through his mind. The thought was a little terrifying. Seeing him take it seriously, Cassandra quickly changed her tune, cupping his face in her hands. I'm kidding. How could I ever do that to you? Oh, good. Liam said, knowing she was joking but playing along, patting his chest for dramatic effect. Cassandra giggled, her tone turning possessive and threatening again. If you ever dare to find me disgusting, I'll lock you in a little dark room and never let you out. That threat didn't sound like a joke. A shiver ran down Liam's spine. He quickly raised 4 fingers to the sky. I swear on my life, childbirth is so hard. I'd be too busy feeling sorry for you. How could I ever find you disgusting? Oomph. Cassandra snorted, but the upturned corners of her mouth showed she believed him. Then hurry up and eat. After we eat, you're coming to the gym with me. No problem. Liam agreed without hesitation. I've got to train more. That way I can hold you and the baby, one in each arm. Whoosh. The blush on Cassandra's face exploded like a firework, spreading all the way to her ears. As she quickly shoveled food into her mouth, her free hand couldn't help but stroke her belly. Liam had just said the baby, and that he'd hold one in each arm. Even with her mouth full, she couldn't stop the corners of her lips from turning up. After the meal, Liam stood up and reached out to help Cassandra. He even remembered to pull her chair back. His cautiousness made her laugh. Why are you being so careful? I'm just pregnant, not a child. I still know how to walk. Nope, I'm afraid you'll fall, Liam insisted, not giving her a chance to argue. He hooked his arm through hers, one step short of just sweeping her up into his arms. He was treating her like a porcelain doll that might shatter at the slightest touch. Half amused and half exasperated, Cassandra was forced to link her arm with his. Fine. Let's go rest for a bit first. Then we'll hit the gym later. Okay. In the afternoon, Cassandra dozed off again on the sofa. Liam draped a blanket over her and sat beside her, gently placing her head on his lap. He leaned back against the sofa and began to read. The atmosphere in the room instantly grew quiet and peaceful, as if time had stood still. About an hour and a half later, Cassandra slowly woke up, the air around her filled with his reassuring scent. Sensing the slight movement in his lap, Liam pulled his attention from his book and looked down at her. You're awake. Cassandra hummed, stretching lazily. What time is it? A little after 3. Liam glanced at the time and couldn't help but tease. You're such a little lazy cat. You could sleep all the way to evening. My back hurts, Cassandra whined, pouting. But before she could move much, she felt something hard under the back of her head. Wait, you. Cassandra's face instantly turned as red as a cherry. It was rare to see her so shy. Before the pregnancy, she had been so bold. He never thought he'd see her get flustered like this. Liam raised an eyebrow, feigning confusion. What's wrong? The feeling at the back of her head was intensifying, yet Liam was acting like he had no idea what was going on. Cassandra couldn't help but roll her eyes and mumble, You already know? So why are you asking? Liam looked at her with amusement. Huh? What do I know? You. Stop pretending. Cassandra sputtered, glaring up at him with wide eyes. Liam couldn't hold it in any longer. I never realized, my dear lady, that you could actually be shy. Cassandra's face was flushed. Why wouldn't I be? Liam's eyes glinted. I seem to recall a certain someone wasn't like this before she was pregnant. Back then, she was always taking the initiative, telling me how hungry she was every day, like a bottomless pit that could never be filled. The teasing in his voice was unmistakable, and of course, Cassandra heard it loud and clear. You're shameless, she snapped, finally realizing. She shot up, grabbing his collar in a fit of pique. Shut up. Don't you dare talk about the past. If you say one more word, I'll... Seeing her so flustered was utterly adorable. The desire to tease her more swelled in his heart, impossible to suppress. He tilted his head, his eyes wide with curiosity. You'll what? I'll... Cassandra bit her lip, stewing for a moment. Then, with a sudden resolve, she yanked his collar down, forcing his head toward hers, their lips meeting in a fiery crash. A soft sigh escaped as their lips parted, the air between them still crackling with heat. Are you going to keep talking? Cassandra challenged, her face tilted up, her misty eyes shimmering. The sight sent a jolt through Liam's heart. He subconsciously touched his lips, his eyes glinting as he said something shocking. If this is the consequence, then of course I'm going to keep talking. You. Cassandra bit her lip, but seeing the undisguised joy in his eyes, her mood instantly lifted. Her gaze traced the sharp line of his jaw, and she couldn't stop herself from playing along. Then bring it on. Who's afraid of who? Liam's eyes sparkled. You said it, he declared with a grin. Without hesitation, he cupped the back of her head with one hand, snaked the other around her slender waist, and pulled her down, deepening the kiss from tentative to consuming. Cassandra was yanked into his arms, falling completely into his embrace, into his kiss. He was like a starving man, plundering her mouth without reservation, the atmosphere igniting into a blazing fire. She didn't know how much time had passed, but when they finally broke apart, Cassandra's face was flushed, her chest heaving as she gasped for air, as if starved of oxygen. Can't handle it already? Liam teased, watching her gulp down air. Cassandra clutched her chest, her pride refusing to admit defeat. But before she could fire back a retort, she saw him leaning in again. Panic flared. She pressed a hand against his chest. Wait, she admitted it. She was panicking. No, let's not play anymore. I was wrong, she stammered, pleading for mercy. A few more rounds of this, and she wouldn't need the gym. The calorie burn from this alone would be off the charts. But Liam had no intention of letting her go. He hadn't had a chance to indulge like this in so long. Now that he finally had the opportunity, he wanted more. No can do, he said roguishly. I'm not done playing yet. Mistaking his intentions, Cassandra frowned. Feeling the heat radiating from him, she bit her lip. But if we're really going to do that, we should probably ask Evelyn first. After all, Liam seemed to be having a hard time himself. Consulting a professional seemed like the prudent thing to do. But her line of thinking was completely outside his frame of reference. Consult a doctor about kissing. Liam blinked, blurting out, "Why would we need to ask Evelyn?" "You, I. Cassandra stammered for a long moment, unable to form the words. She looked up at him, annoyed. "Why do you have to pretend you don't know?" "Pretend I don't know what? What are you talking about?" Liam scratched his head in confusion. Already lost the thread. He had no idea what she was saying. Seeing his genuinely bewildered expression, Cassandra's own sanity started to return. She finally managed to explain. "You know, this." She wiggled her fingers suggestively. "You're obviously uncomfortable, but it's not a good time for me right now, so I said we should ask Evelyn. To be safe," she mumbled. The words finally registered in Liam's brain, and he nearly burst out laughing. "My dear lady, what on earth are you talking about?" Liam cut her off without hesitation. "You're pregnant right now? Why would I ever have that kind of thought? What kind of monster do you think I am?" His words were harsh, but they had the intended effect. Cassandra blinked, finally understanding. "Then, you said you wanted to continue. Continue kissing you. What else did you think I wanted to continue?" "Oh, I see," Liam said, stroking his chin, a look of mock sadness in his eyes. "So, Cassandra, your mind is just filled with this kind of stuff all day?" "I'm not. I don't have those thoughts. Stop talking nonsense." "You don't, huh?" Liam's expression turned pained. But you're saying you don't have those kinds of thoughts about me?" The constant back and forth left Cassandra completely flustered. She finally surrendered, realizing he was deliberately messing with her. She sat up in a huff. "You're a jerk. I'm not playing with you anymore." Her childish pout made Liam laugh. He quickly begged for forgiveness. I'm sorry. Don't stop playing with me." "Oomph," Cassandra snorted, crossing her arms and turning her back to him, her straight spine a silent protest. Liam reached out and shook her shoulder, but she twisted away from his touch. "Oh no," his lady was actually mad. "If you won't play with me, who am I supposed to play with?" he pleaded. "You don't want me to go find someone else, do you?" Before he could finish the sentence, Cassandra whipped around, her face a mask of cold fury. "You dare!" Liam threw his hands up in the classic gesture of surrender. "So you're willing to look at me again, my lady?" "I surrender. I was wrong." Cassandra wasn't truly angry. Even when she was, it was all talk. And right now, Liam was looking at her with an affectionate smile, his eyes curved into beautiful crescents. The moment their eyes met, her heart melted. "Oomph, I suppose I can forgive you." "A little," she muttered stubbornly, then stood up decisively. "Take me to the gym." "As you command, my lady." Liam nodded eagerly, helping her to her feet and accompanying her to the fitness room. Cassandra sat on a bench while Liam went through and checked every single piece of equipment. The planned 1-hour workout turned into a half-hour equipment inspection. She was about to grow, cobwebs waiting. "You don't have to be so meticulous. Someone maintains this equipment regularly," she finally grumbled. "Not good enough." Liam's voice came from across the room. "I don't trust anyone else's inspection. You're pregnant. Everything has to be perfect." Though it was tedious, his intentions were good. In every little thing, he was showing how much he cared. And while the wait was long, she knew that's what caring looked like. She propped her chin on her hand, took a sip of water, and watched him, a faint smile unconsciously gracing her lips. The afternoon flew by. After the workout, Cassandra went to take a shower. Liam stayed nearby, almost never leaving her sight. Her pregnancy wasn't far along yet, but listening to the sound of the running water, Liam found himself thinking ahead. When she was further along, he couldn't let her shower by herself. He would have to be there to help, or have Evelyn assist. "The Royal Residence, Ethan, that esports team of yours has to be shut down. Right now, no one has dug up your identity, but if they ever do, where are we supposed to hide our faces?" In the room, Natalie was relentlessly laying into Ethan. His father, Miles, sat beside him, not daring to breathe. In the high-pressure environment, Ethan clenched his fists, his lowered gaze filled with a burning hatred for Liam. "I'm having someone follow you 24/7. During this time, you are not to do anything out of line. And that Penelope Hamilton girl, stop contacting her. She's no good either," Natalie ordered, her tone vicious. Being monitored by the family was a direct revocation of his freedom. Ethan grit his teeth and could only nod. "Yes, mother, I understand." When he left the room, Ethan had several new bodyguards trailing him. Their presence was a constant annoyance, but he was powerless. The feeling was made worse when he opened his phone and saw messages in his team's group chat, asking when they were signing up for the global tournament. His teammates' enthusiasm was a knife in his gut. If his secret team hadn't been exposed, he would be leading them to the global stage right now. Instead, everything was canceled. He knew with bitter certainty that Liam was the one who had brought this humiliation upon him. As for Penelope, he couldn't care less. Seeing a message from her, Ethan only felt irritation. He tapped on her profile and, without hesitation, deleted her contact. At that moment, under constant surveillance, all he could do was cease all activities and stay put at home. Penelope had been trying to subtly ask Ethan when he was going to send her the student aid money. After the last event, all the other scholarship recipients had received their funds. Sandy Cho had already gotten her payment, minus taxes, but Penelope's account remained empty. Her messages went unanswered, and a sense of panic began to set in. She sent him a sticker, only to receive a system notification. This contact has deleted you. Penelope sat bolt upright, staring at the message in disbelief. Ethan deleted me? An unprecedented wave of panic washed over her. At the same time, the video of her was posted in the university's student group chat. A notification popped up, and she quickly tapped it. When she heard her own voice coming from the video, she felt as if she'd been plunged into an icy abyss. In the chat, students from all over were discussing it. On the university's official forum, threads about her were popping up everywhere. Is this Penelope Hamilton from our school? She's the head of the Poverty Student Union. She's been sponsored by Ethan Vance for years. Seriously, how could she say something like that? I support independence, but not this kind of ungrateful, entitled independence. Forget my parents. Even I'd be furious hearing that. You raise a kid with so much care, only to get a white-eyed wolf in return. Unlike back home, where a bad reputation was just a bad reputation, people here were more prone to action. Within days of the video's release, the forum posts had made boycott Penelope Hamilton's ideals a trending topic. Students were organizing protests, demanding Gadden University expel her. The situation escalated rapidly. The video was damning evidence. Her arrogant, self-righteous words had turned almost the entire school against her. Within 2 days, her desk had been splattered with paint of all colors. In swim class, she was accidentally pushed into the water. In gym, she was accidentally tripped. During lectures, people threw trash at her head. Some were more direct, dragging her into the bathroom after school to ask her if she had a conscience. Penelope wanted to ask for help, but no one would listen. The evidence was irrefutable. Whenever she tried to look helpless, someone would shove the video in her face and force her to watch. She had never anticipated this. Now, she could only hide in her small, rented apartment, not even daring to step outside. Fortunately, she had a habit of stockpiling instant noodles, which had saved her from starving. But even the noodles would run out eventually, and her rent was due soon. Penelope was completely alone. She knew with certainty that this was all Liam's fault. She didn't know what she had done wrong, only that Liam had spread the video and caused her to be doxxed and ostracized. Furious, but helpless, she had no idea where he was. She couldn't even get close to him. She felt abandoned by the entire world. She collapsed on her bed, sobbing, the resentment in her heart reaching a fever pitch. Knock, knock, knock. A sharp rap on the door startled her. She flinched, thinking her tormentors had found her. She instinctively shrank into a corner, not daring to move. But then a woman's voice came from outside. Penelope Hamilton, open the door. I know you're in there. I'm here to help you. Penelope froze. She wiped her tears and tiptoed to the door, peeking at the security camera feed. A well-dressed woman stood outside, her appearance noble and her expression cold. She was alone. With nothing left to lose, Penelope took a deep breath and opened the door, meeting the woman's gaze. Aren't you going to invite me in? The woman sneered, stepping inside as if she owned the place. Penelope bit her lip, wiped away another tear, and held the door open. Once inside, the woman scanned the tiny apartment, a flicker of contempt in her eyes that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Her tone shifted to one of mock sympathy. How pathetic. Can't even afford to eat, can you? Her gaze landed on the last of Penelope's food in the corner. 2 packs of ramen and some stale bread. It was a clear testament to her dire situation. Penelope had never seen this person before, but she was focused on what the woman had said before entering. I'm here to help you. She clenched her teeth. Miss you, you're here to help me. The woman's gaze shifted back to her, a hint of a smile at the corners of her lips. Yes, that's exactly why I'm here. How? How will you help me? By giving you money. The woman's lips curved as she brandished a gold credit card. Is 500,000 pounds enough? 500,000 pounds. Penelope was stunned. That was over $500,000. While it might not be a fortune in the UK, it was enough for her to go back home, buy a small apartment, and settle down for a while. Penelope's eyes lit up. She looked at the woman excitedly, blurting out, "You believe I'm innocent, don't you?" Innocent. The woman scoffed as if she'd heard the world's biggest joke. But as her eyes swept over Penelope, she didn't expose the lie. Instead, she asked, "You know who framed you and brought you to this point, don't you?" At the woman's words, Penelope froze. The image of Liam's mocking face flashed in her mind, and she clenched her fists. "Of course I know." The woman raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on her lips. "Do you want revenge?" A fire ignited in Penelope's eyes. "Of course. He ruined my family, and he's about to get me kicked out of school. I want to tear him to pieces." The woman just smiled faintly, watching her without saying a word. But after the initial burst of anger, Penelope's expression fell. "But there's nothing I can do," she said helplessly. "I'm all alone here. I can't even leave my apartment. How am I supposed to get revenge?" She left the sentence hanging, a feeling growing within her that this woman was going to offer a solution. She had already offered money, after all. A person who could casually offer £500,000 was no ordinary person. Though Penelope had never met her, the woman exuded an undeniable air of wealth and power. She had to be the heiress of some family or a CEO. Meeting Penelope's gaze, the woman saw everything. She knew exactly what Penelope was thinking. "Do you have a plan?" she asked. "A plan?" Penelope blinked, then gave a bitter laugh. "I don't even know where he lives. What kind of plan could I have?" A knowing look crossed the woman's face. "I can give you Liam's address and his daily schedule," she said generously. She took a few steps closer, her 5'7" frame towering over Penelope. She looked down, her voice imperious. "And I can lend you a few bodyguards." Penelope was stunned. Could such a good thing really be happening? She grew wary, studying the woman before her. Though she was smiling, the smile never reached her eyes, which were as cold as ice. The moment their gazes met, Penelope felt as if she'd been plunged into a frozen cavern. A shiver ran through her. "Why? Why are you helping me?" she asked cautiously. The woman seemed surprised by the question. She paused, then laughed. "Because I'm just like you." "Like me?" Penelope repeated. "Yes." The woman nodded, a strange light flickering in her eyes. She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. The pain seemed to focus her. "Like you," she said, almost through gritted teeth. "I hate him more than anything." It didn't sound like a lie. It sounded terrifyingly real. In her daze, Penelope suddenly understood and smiled. She knew Liam couldn't have risen so far so fast without making enemies. It seemed she wasn't the only one who despised him. Penelope raised her hand, a fawning look on her face. "Sister, I promise you, I'll kidnap Liam and bring him to you. You can have a first crack at him." Seeing Penelope's hand hanging in the air, the woman's eyes flashed with disdain. She made no move to shake it. "Liam isn't that easy to capture," she said coldly. "From what I know, he's a very good fighter. Even with bodyguards, you might not succeed." This was unexpected. Penelope wasn't offended by the refused handshake. She was just surprised. "No way. The Liam I know just knows a little self-defense." The woman's gaze was sharp. She sneered, "That's just what you think. Then what should I do? Do you know P11.She?" Penelope paused, shaking her head blankly. "I've only met her once. I don't really know much about her. She's Liam's sister. Nothing makes a man compromise faster than his sister being kidnapped, right?" Sister. Penelope suddenly remembered. At the campsite, she had indeed heard Chloe call Liam brother. Her confidence surged. "Okay, I'll kidnap P11.She and use her to threaten Liam." "Good," the woman nodded. She pulled a piece of paper and a set of keys from her pocket and tossed them to Penelope. "This is my private villa. Liam and Chloe's schedules are on that paper. After you grab her, bring her there. I'll be waiting for your good news." For the next few days, Liam's routine remained the same: school and home. His relationship with Cassandra was growing stronger by the day. After spending so much time together, he discovered she wasn't as domineering as she seemed. She was like a little cat. Stroke her fur the right way, and she was perfectly docile. But ruffle her fur, and her tail would instantly puff up. But she was pregnant, so of course, he was completely compliant. These past few days, however, Liam noticed a few men standing near the school gate when he left, their eyes occasionally flicking toward him. It made him frown. On this particular day, he saw it clearly. As he walked past, a man standing by a tree, who had been staring at him, abruptly shifted his gaze. Liam thought for a moment, then tossed his backpack through the rear window of Haley Lou's car. "Haley, you head back first. I have something to take care of." After several days of this, Haley was used to not picking Liam up. He always explained things to Cassandra later, and she never got angry. Haley nodded and stepped on the gas. Watching the car drive away, Liam casually rounded the corner into a small alley next to the school. As he expected, the men followed. He slipped into a recess at the end of the alley and waited. A moment later, a rush of hurried footsteps followed. They came around the corner and ran right into him. The atmosphere tensed. Seeing that they made no move to attack, Liam didn't hesitate. "What do you want, following me around?" The man in the lead, who had gray hair, scratched his head awkwardly. "Mr. Lin, we're from the Royal Guard. The monarch sent us to protect you." Liam was dumbfounded. Huh? Thinking Liam didn't believe him, the gray-haired man quickly pulled out his credentials and held them up. "Mr. Lin, it's true. The monarch really sent us." Seeing the royal seal on the ID, Liam's mouth twitched. Is this king crazy? Sending people to secretly follow him and claiming it's for his protection? He had only met Lord Charles once. They were complete strangers. Why was he so concerned? Liam was speechless. "Go back and tell your king I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't need protection." The men exchanged uneasy glances. Liam said his piece and walked away. The gray-haired man hesitated for a moment, but ultimately didn't follow. "Captain, what do we do now? What do you think? We go back and report to the monarch."